Our next guest is a world champion cheerleader, one of the most decorated of all time, Makayla Noble. Makayla is incredibly special to me as she's an athlete that trains at my gym, Adaptive Training Foundation in Dallas. 2 years ago, Makayla, in a backyard cheer stunt, ended up not making it all the way around on a flip and breaking her neck, immediately becoming quadriplegic. This young lady has a spirit and a brightness and a light that is unmatched. She's actually crawled 40 yards on a turf, only using her elbows, bleeding all over. This story is gonna touch you because very honest about what she struggled with prior to this accident. And then yet, she felt like God laid this path before her for a great purpose. We also have a fun cameo from this guy, number 4 for the Dallas Cowboys, Prescott. He jumps in to surprise her with a signed jersey. So you gotta tune in. Makayla Noble's episode is gonna hit you right here in the heart. Makayla Noble.
Good prayer. Hey.
Welcome to the Life After podcast.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I do is, as I kind of research my guests, obviously there wasn't a ton of research necessary since I've known you for a bit, but I like to give my guests some type of a gift.
Okay.
And so this one for you, I thought was fitting because you are a warrior.
Oh, David!
In every sense. I don't know if you want to read that so people can hear it.
I am the storm. Fate whispers to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. The warrior whispers back, I am the storm.
You, to me, are one of the grittiest people I've ever worked with in my life.
Thank you.
Any athlete I've played with, we'll talk more about some of the examples of that. No, it is. It is. I've watched you rise above things, and in the face of where most people would like easily have quit, just charge through it. So we'll put that on you later. And
I would love to.
Just
I'm not going
wanted
to take it
a
off.
little
Are
guest.
you kidding?
Something to think back and reflect on, just the work that you put in and the way that you approach life. So let's dive in. I guess let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about Little Mac.
Yeah.
So you're a Texan.
No.
Where were you born? Where were you born?
Indiana.
That's right. Okay. So at what point did you leave Indiana? How old were you?
We moved here when I was going into 5th grade. So I was
10, 11?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Still little.
What do you remember from Indiana?
I had a good childhood. I remember just our town, small town.
What was the name of it?
Center Grove.
Center Grove. Shout out to all of our Center Grove friends in Indiana.
And like football was our town, you know. So I remember a lot of the Friday nights, everybody would go to the home games. And my brother's, he's quite a bit older than me, so he was in high school.
Yeah.
So I was like the cool little sister. I felt that got to be friends with the high schoolers and just go to all the games. And we knew everybody playing out there and all the cheerleaders and everything. It was really fun. And we would like, not pregame, but like pregame, we would like order pizza at our house, and then we walked to the stadium because we lived close. So it was really fun. I had a really good childhood.
Sort of just small town America, family, faith, football, grew up on those?
Yeah.
So you have older brother, Connor, older sister, Mariah.
Yes.
And talk about the sort of dynamic of your family, both in Indiana and then kind of in early years. You and your mom are pretty much
so close.
Carbon copies of each other,
Yeah.
right? You guys are very, very close.
Yeah.
Almost like sisters more than mom-daughter. But talk about sort of just the general family dynamic from Indiana and then early Texas.
Yeah, moving from Indiana to Texas, it brought us all a lot closer. We moved here for my dad's job and in 2015, and it brought us closer just because we had no one here. We knew no one in Texas, no one really in the South. All of our family's in Indiana. So we moved here, and it was like a leap of faith, and it was really hard. We moved during the summer and had nobody except each other. So we got really close, especially us as siblings. And I'm really close with my brother and sister. We go on trips, just us, and it's really cool. Again, I think we're all mature, and we'll get into it later, but my accident has obviously brought us a lot closer and made us mature and appreciate and love each other for who we are. But I'm so blessed with my siblings. They're amazing and like my favorite people.
When did you start cheerleading?
I started cheerleading, 7, 8, probably. I tried all the other sports, any sport that had a ball, which is
most of them.
Terrible.
Not so good at that.
Bad. Like I'm probably better now, which is really bad. But I did gymnastics and I really liked it, but I only liked the tumbling part of it. And so my mom was like, that's cheer. And my mom really did not want me to do cheer because she grew up doing basketball, softball, and anytime she'd bring up softball, I'd just start crying because I was like, no, I don't want to do it. But cheerleading was my thing. I got into it and started excelling in it right away. And
you knew you were good.
It was my thing, and I loved it, and so I stuck with it. And then we came here, and they set up a private tryout for me, and I didn't know. And they told me in the parking lot, they're like, "We packed your shoes, we packed your clothes, all this stuff."
Dropped you
falling. I was like, I'm not going inside. I'm a very hard-headed person, which stems from my mom and my sister as well. If we have our mind set on something,
good luck talking me out.
No. I'm not going in. Like, and again, I was a little girl. I was like, I'm not going in.
Yeah.
No, and no. But
eventually.
I went in, of course. And I had the tryout, and it went really well. And the people were amazing. And then probably a couple months later.
Flyer, right?
Yes.
So.
Yes. Very petite.
Yeah.
Still I am, grew up very small, a lot smaller than all my other friends.
Crazy body control, right?
Yes.
Like to be a flyer, essentially back to the gymnastics thing, it's much more about that type of body awareness and space and control and core strength. And like, I mean, you have to be an athlete. This isn't cheer like pom-poms and sideline.
Yeah.
This is cheer like routines, giant moves, huge aerials. Like I'm obviously not very well versed in my jargon within the cheer landscape.
It's okay.
But that is, as a sport, it's not just a sport, it's a culture.
Yeah, it really is. It's
lifestyle.
cool because I did the school cheer thing just for fun with my friends, like started the little pee-wee when we're young. And
that's big here.
babies.
It's so cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah, the little Pop Warner guys are out there, bobbleheads bobbing around, and the little girls are out there.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
It's so cute. But I did that for fun. But then I found that the competitive cheer world, especially when we moved to Texas, it is a culture and it is a world. And it's like anything niche, I guess, like when you get into it. And then obviously when I got up high in the levels, like it's a whole world. And like everybody at the top level, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
When do you remember, or if there was a specific time, or maybe it was just sort of over a progression of years that you participated or competed, when did you start to sort of feel pressure? Like this wasn't just, like from a competitive cheer landscape, I mean, cheer athletics is top. Yeah. So for you, was there a moment in time where you're like, whoa, this went from like, I'm pretty good at this, I like doing this, to like, this is a full-time job beyond even school and just being a kid?
Yeah. I think when I made the jump from like the satellite location to the main location.
The Mecca.
Yeah. I made that move when I was 12. The satellite location's in Frisco, and then the main, like, the gym is in Plano. And so I went and tried out there, and at the tryout, they, like, pulled me aside and was like, because I had, like, amazing jumps. Like, I was known for my jumps. And so they, like, pulled me aside, like, to a different, like, floor, and they would have like coaches come over and be like, do this, try this. And then like all the other girls, like all my friends are over there, and I was like I knew it was a good thing, obviously, because they were interested.
Yeah, you were singled out.
Yeah, I was singled out, but it was obviously nerve-wracking, and I knew of these coaches and all these things.
So do you think that's when some pressure started to be felt,
definitely.
Right? Like,
and when everybody else got released from the tryouts, and they're like, hey, stay here, we're gonna try some things, brought over some college boys and started throwing me in the air. It was like, okay, that was weird.
This got real.
Yeah, and I was like, I mean, I knew of all the people, again, like, they're famous in the world, and everything, and it was cool because I was with them, so I was like,
Okay, so you liked the attention, there was, but partially realized quickly, like, man, this isn't just recreational. This isn't just for fun. Like, I have to perform, and I am an elite athlete now. How did that shift your training Because I mean, I've seen you now, obviously post-accident, and the grit and the determination and the willingness to really suffer to train. Was that something that you just naturally were good at, like willing to go really hard and like do the work? Or was that something that, you know, your parents helped sort of instill in you? Like, where does that come from?
I think it comes from my mom, honestly. Like, we grew up, like, she didn't sugarcoat anything. It was the way it is because got to get prepared for real life. You know, she always says, like, she would never let us win in any games or anything. Like, if you deserve to win, you're going to win. And if you don't deserve to win, you're not going to win. Like, sorry.
Cutthroat,
you know?
Jen.
She's like, I don't care if you're 5. Like, she always says that. She's like, I'll beat you in Candyland. Like, if you're not good at something, I'm not going to tell you you are, you know? So I think, obviously, that's not always fun to hear, that you're not good at something or you're, you know, not talented in some subject, but I'm really appreciative for it because I found my thing and I got put into it. And like, obviously coaches at any elite level are very cutthroat and difficult, and it's hard when you're a young girl, like growing up trying to find who you are. And then a lot of these people telling you you have to be perfect all the time. But yeah, I'd say like, everything got pretty real when I was like 12 because now I was on a team with collegiate cheerleaders that are all 19 and 20, 21, and I'm 12.
So you were indoctrinated, not just in the cheer landscape, but with these older, you know, cheerleaders and competitive individuals that, you know, we were one of a couple that were at that age that were included for the big competitions. And so you're traveling, you're in hotel rooms. Talk about sort of the exposure that you were, just like laid out in front of you.
Yeah, I wasn't really, okay, well, of course I was intimidated by the older kids and everything, but I jumped in and loved it. Again, I loved being around older people. I felt like I fit in, like I wasn't intimidated by talking with them or being with them or anything. I liked it. But it was weird because I would be at practice till 10:15 at night. Then my mom's driving me home 45 minutes away. I'm getting to bed around midnight time, waking up and going to middle school with preteens, you know? It was just weird.
Yeah, kids that thought their homework was hard.
Yeah.
And you're laying out this crazy schedule.
Yeah.
So there was pressure to still perform, but also be a kid?
Yeah.
How did those prioritize in your life? Did you feel like you had a choice? Or was it like, no, cheer is this, and so everything else is secondary to that?
No, I definitely felt like I had a choice. Thankfully, cheer, especially in like dance and pageants and things like that, like get the rep for like crazy moms, and it's true. Like there are so many, I mean, in every sport, but there's a lot of parents that are living through their children, you know, and like forcing them to do things. And like I saw that and like felt bad for those kids, you know? But thankfully my mom was like, I could care less, you know, like go in, work hard, and then
we love you no matter what.
Yeah. So I didn't feel pressure or anything. The only pressure was from my coaches and from myself. But I don't think it was bad pressure. I think it was good pressure to make me better and grow. But it was weird then going to middle school. I mean, middle school's not fun for anybody, but like I hated it because it was 2 different worlds. But I was new here and kind of rebelled. I was like, no, like I'm not making friends. No, I'm not doing that. So I was very get in, get out, go to practice. I got annoyed with people my age more because I was like, oh my gosh, y'all are so immature, you know? I just felt like, and not in a bad way, but like I felt like I was ahead of people my age, and like school-wise I was doing grade above stuff, and I was in all the accelerated classes. And David, I never did homework. Like I was like, nope, not doing it. Like after school, like I don't get to go home. I'm going straight to cheer, and then I'm going to bed. Like I'm prioritizing myself and my sleep. And if I don't get my homework done at school, like I'll figure it out.
You were a college athlete, basically.
I was not, like, school was never a priority to me.
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, I'm so blessed that, like, I was good at it and, like, things just came easy. Like, I never studied for anything. I could just...
perform.
I made my way.
You're built for the moment.
Thankfully, yeah.
So when was the first world championship?
The first world championship was when I was 12, and that year we went undefeated, which is, again,
incredible,
unheard of.
Yeah.
And we won the world championship, and we not only won, like, in our division, in our level and everything, but we won everything, like the whole competition, everything.
How'd that feel?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like the best
All that
thing
hard
in the
work
world.
paid off.
Yes. It was so cool, but I think, like, I look back on it now, and because we won everything, and because I won the biggest thing that you can win in cheerleading the first year, and when I was so young, I didn't really understand how big the deal that was.
Yeah.
Until, like, years following after.
Yeah.
I didn't, like, when we did lose, and when I would talk to other people, you know.
Yeah.
When you get everything so fast, you don't realize, like...
You don't appreciate, maybe, the perspective of, everything that went into it and all the suffering and all the trade-offs, right? I mean, you're making sacrifices, and making a choice to be great at something means usually you're not going to be so good at other things.
Yeah.
Sounds like for you, luckily as a performer, whether it was school or other stuff, like you had the capacity to do both. Mm. So how many world championships did you win? I mean, you pretty much...
I only won one.
Okay, so one as far as the whole gambit. But, I mean, you've been recognized in pretty much every way that a cheerleader could be.
Which is crazy,
right?
Because I'm like, I wasn't that good.
What do you think it was? It was just you? I mean, I think you have, I've said this so many times, you have that it factor. And it is whatever you need it to be. In any situation or moment, no moment's too big. I mean, we've shared stages together. We've had really cool things. I mean, we've done stem cell injections together.
Yeah.
We've done all kinds of cool stuff. And
the good and the bad.
Yeah, and I think I'm so impressed with the resolve of any, moment, whatever comes at you. Like, you just sort of level up.
Thank you.
Is that traits from your mom? Is that you had certain people, mentors, or maybe even whether it was cheer or otherwise that you looked up to that was like, I want to model myself after?
My mom. Completely. Yeah. Just whatever it is, I guess it's nothing that, like, she said or did. It's just how she is. Yeah. And everyone always told me, like, oh my gosh, you're a mini, your mom. And I love that so much. But she's just so tough, and whatever gets handed at her, okay, we're going to deal with it. We're going to overcome it. And going back to, like, what you said about quitting and stuff, she's like, we don't quit. Like, we don't quit. Quitting was never an option for anything, and as much as I hated that and would cry and stuff when I was little, I appreciate that so much. And even now, sometimes I'm like, when I'm on my way to workout, I'm like, why do I do this? I'm working out so hard, and I'm never going to even be close to the normal person. Why am I what's the point, I still need help with everything. What's the point of me going in and working out and putting in these hours and hours of workouts?
So what is the point?
Because I don't know. It's just I have to. Because I have to get better,
Why though?
Why? Because that's just who I am and how my family is. Mm-hmm. And it's not for someone or me. It's the fear of wasted potential,
And that's always been in you?
Yeah.
This idea that if you're not becoming better, you're becoming worse?
Yeah. You're in here for so long. You might as well go and be the best you can be. Achieving
what you've achieved in any sport, it comes with ups and downs. It comes with injuries.
Yeah.
Anything that sticks out to you, in those middle school years, in those early years, injury-wise, that was difficult and impactful?
Yeah, I had a major concussion, I think when I was like 13, and I was out of school for like a month.
Wow.
I was out of cheer for a long time.
Tell us about how it happened.
Middle school girls, high school girls holding me up. I was in the air, And I don't know exactly what happened, but they were standing arms up there. My feet are in their arms, and went straight down, and a girl went on her knee, and like the very bottom of my head went straight on her kneecap. And I got up, I was like, I'm fine, like, I'm okay. Because I used to hate crying in front of people, I still do. But I'm fine, you know? And then I was like, starting to feel it a little more a couple minutes after, and I was like, can I go to the bathroom? Which I went by myself, and then like when I was walking back, I was like,
dizzy.
what's going on?
Out of it. Did you ever lose consciousness? Did you ever throw up?
No, I didn't.
Headaches?
Yeah, headaches. And then just after, it was a lot. Like, I would be home, no electronics or anything, obviously. And like all the lights had to be off, like no sound, no nothing. Yeah. And like we'd have the fireplace on, and like that would be too bright for like me. It was crazy.
Crazy stimulation, sensitivity. Yeah. So do you think that had an impact in your sort of development overall, you know, not just with the recovery physically, but also with the, you know, mental and emotional stuff that we know now more today about TBI and how it affects, you know, mood disorder, how it activates certain things like depression, anxiety, you know, starts to mess with your hormones. I mean, much less to say you're a middle school girl, hormones are happening, right? You're engaged and integrated into a team that is a large spectrum of age range to include people that are older and exploring different things that you may or may not be ready for. What was that like? Like, that is not normal. I mean, were you just going through life like, hey, this is normal, I'm just gonna go, or were you aware that like this is very crazy and my emotions and my hormones are all over the place? How did you stabilize yourself during all that?
I knew I was living a not normal life just because I couldn't connect with like the kids my age at school and everything. Like I could, like I was on the school cheer team and like I had friends and everything, but I knew I was not living a normal life, and I loved it. And because again, like I love the craziness of it. I love being active and being all over the place, and achieving things that are greater than what I thought was possible for myself. With going back to the concussion and everything, that's when like my whole depression like started. When I went like to the doctors for things after, you know, like checkups and stuff. Again, they had the paper, and we've talked about this, but they had the paper, and it's like, have you thought about like hurting yourself or like different things?
Hello.
Shut the F up.
Hello.
We gotta send that special guest here.
Yeah, you are interrupting, but you're okay.
It's a good interruption.
I can interrupt.
You can interrupt. You're okay.
Hi.
David Vobora. Hi, Dad.
This is all David.
Oh my
This is all
gosh,
David.
nice to meet you.
No, man, that's all four.
Well,
How that's for a surprise,
Oh
huh?
my gosh.
I told you you get to meet him.
no, see, I got some.
Jack.
This is all you wanted, and I said, no, let's make it better. Let me come bring it to us. So.
How about that?
Stop. What I want to cry, Jack. Thank you
Look
so
at that,
much.
dude. What? I told you. I told you we'd make it happen. Bro.
You're so cute.
yeah.
Jack is so cute.
Thank you, of course.
What do you think?
Thank you. This is insane.
We might have to wear that for
My
the rest of
heart.
the interview, man.
My heart. Yeah, I'll
This
wear
is
it.
Mama Bear. Jen's the best.
Yeah, this is my mom.
So cool.
Yo, we'll do arms. Can't mess with the makeup.
Yeah.
David, I don't want to mess with makeup. Here we go. Ready? Teamwork. Woo-hoo-hoo. There you go. Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. There you go.
Your brother's gonna be pissed at us.
We're good?
Guys.
Y'all, all three want to get in?
Yeah.
Let's
You wanna
just get
spin,
a-
kind of
get you
square
back
up
in
on
your
the
seat.
table?
Yeah, and then get Dak right in the middle.
Perfect. Perfect.
We want to do that?
What do you think?
My
How about that for a
heart.
surprise? That's the real gift, man. I mean, that's fine, but this is the guy.
The man.
The man.
I love this.
So good right here. Great job, y'all. Great smile. Look at this.
There we go.
Here, get one of just them, too.
Right there.
There you go. Oh man, that white jersey looks good.
So good.
Blue eyes popping.
Right, making the eyes pop. Good. Love that.
Let's go.
Mom, you want to get
Yes,
in one?
come on, Mom, and sis. This is Mariah,
Hello.
the sweetest. I'm wired up here, or else I come say, they keep me on a short leash, man.
I'm gonna get a picture.
That's cool. On the movie set, too.
This is my profile. This is my Christmas card. Like it is my LinkedIn profile pic. Awesome.
I was gonna say,
Oh man.
thank you so much for taking time.
So
to
cool,
come.
right?
David, Luke, they set it up, so appreciate it. He's the champ.
I know you're like kind of a good football player, but like I know you're an amazing human being. So that means
No, thank you.
Facts.
Football, yeah. Football's just part of it. You know, football's part of it. So,
it's a
Pretty good part of it, though. It's a pretty good part of it, though.
and so I'll see you at the gym. We're gonna work out in or something.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll come up and see you, too. We'll come to AT&T.
Yeah, please. No, I'm serious. We'll connect. We'll get her at Patriots whenever, for sure.
Let's do it.
We'll have to wait till Thanksgiving. Yeah. Good.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, man.
love you so much.
Miller.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy this.
Thank you.
See the
I
movie
will.
star.
Good man. So, Mac, today is September 19th. Tell us about what tomorrow is.
Tomorrow's a big day. Tomorrow's the 2-year anniversary of my accident, which is insane. It's been a roller coaster of emotions just this past week. High highs and low lows. Just around this time of year, the fall, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I always think it's not gonna be hard, and it's a lot harder than I thought.
Lots comes up.
Yeah. And then, you find yourself scrolling, like last night I was like scrolling through my camera roll, like around this time 2 years ago. I love pictures and I love taking videos and everything. I document everything, which obviously is how a lot of people know me. But just like looking through those times, and then on Snapchat, you have the like a year ago today, 2 years ago today. And like 2 years ago today, it came up and it was like a picture of my brother and my grandpa. And I was like, I love these men so much. Because around the time, like as crazy as it was, and I've told you this, like I knew something big was gonna happen in my life. And I was like convinced someone was gonna die. Like someone, like one of my people were gonna die. And so I was like taking pictures and like videos of all them, like very intentional with my words. Like I knew something big was gonna happen. I just had like a gut feeling, but I didn't think anything was gonna happen to me. I thought it was gonna be someone around me.
Yeah. So we call in the adaptive world, or people that have experienced life-altering, life-changing moments, we call it a live day.
Yeah.
Right, or a life day, depending. So, and again, I think, there's people that'll have had, hey, 20 years ago this happened to me, but like the close proxy of you, especially at a time in your life when, you have certain expectations as a young adult, as somebody that's going from adolescence into adulthood. A live days. How do you approach? I mean, I'm sure the outside world is, oh my gosh, like this is a celebration.
Well, when I tell people about it, they're like, why would you celebrate that? But to me, it's a no-brainer. Hello, I'm alive. And it's like, is this where I wanted to be 2 years after? No. Would I be very disappointed? Probably, yeah. That I was still in a wheelchair and still dealing with all this. But also, I would be so proud of myself for like the 2 years and what I've done with it. I feel like I've lived more in these 2 years than I have the 16 years before it. Wow. Which is so cool. And like, I love being able to tell people about my day of life and my live day and everything. I think it's like super unique and cool, and it changes people's perspectives when you just tell them about it.
Right.
And it's like definitely changed mine. I see it as like a day of gratitude, a day of thank you, God, for not taking me and letting me live and waking me up each morning. It's emotional and can be like hard emotions, and I'm like, this sucks, like I hate my life, like I hate everything, but majority of the time I'm really like grateful to say that I'm so happy to be alive, and I love life more now than I did before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna work our way to September 20th,
Yeah.
2 years ago. But talk about the first concussion and the really horrific concussion that you endured back in middle school and how you think that started to shift in you from the physical impairment and injury, but also just sort of in general with your mental and emotional well-being.
Yeah, I'd say after that concussion, that was like the turning point for me in my mental health, I guess. That was the beginning of the journey. Because again, I think it is, a journey. Again, highs and lows. But after that, like the checkups is when I kind of realized like, oh, I'm thinking about things a little differently. Now I see things in life a little bit differently, and it's not for the better, just the normal questions that they ask. And it's like, have you ever thought about hurting yourself?
Like, who did you have to talk to when you didn't feel well and you were having certain thoughts that, you really questioned your own safety?
At the beginning, I was really scared of it, and kind of, I didn't talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to. I didn't really want to think about it. I just kind of tried to suppress it, But obviously that doesn't work with anything or any emotion eventually.
How would the thoughts come up? Were they random? Were they tied to, I'm feeling down, low, and this is what an outcome could be? Or was it like they'd come out of nowhere, sort of just have your attention and you couldn't get rid of them?
It was more of, again, like the transition of me going anywhere. So like the transition from me waking up and getting ready for school, or me headed to cheer, me on the way back. I think moments where I could actually just sit and be in my brain. And I know a lot of people don't like to be with their thoughts. I love it. Like, I love to talk to myself in my brain and like be with my thoughts. I think it's important. And it would be in those moments where I would be like, what it would always come down to, and still does, sometimes, what's the point, Like, just what's the point of my hard work? What's the point of me dedicating myself to this? What's the point of working hard, Yeah. There's people who don't work hard and can just mosey through life and do anything,
It's a pretty human question, though. Like, what does it matter?
Why does it matter? We're all gonna die.
Why do I matter? At that time, was there, I don't know, anything that you felt like you could hang your hat on as far as why you existed and what it mattered for?
No, I think I was so young and just didn't understand all that. I knew that quitting wasn't an option, and I had to keep going. And it was honestly just, I'm staying alive and continuing things for my people. And that was kind of it. There were times where it was so bad that it eventually got to the point where I was like, okay, I need to tell my mom about this.
Did you have a plan? Did you ever think it through, ending your life?
Yeah, multiple times. But I never like set a date or anything. But again, like, those were questions on paper, and that's scary. It's like, do I check yes or do I check no? Because if I check yes, then it's gonna lead to more questions, and I'm gonna actually have to talk about this. I'm actually gonna have to bring it up to my parents, who are sitting right next to me in a room with a doctor who is a stranger, I don't know. And they're gonna ask some really hard questions that I don't wanna talk about,
So did you check yes?
No. Was that the smartest option?
I mean,
no.
I think that's the pretty common.
But I think, yeah, I was very fearful, so I would check no, because again, it's easier to
Sweep it under, right?
Yeah.
So when you finally took the jump to talk to your mom about it, again, I've heard many people say, I opened up to somebody and they were like, "You're okay, sweetie," or let's keep this quiet type of thing. So how did she receive that message?
Well, I went to my mom. Again, there's so many moments where you remember so vividly what happened, and I was just so scared. I knew she would be upset. Of course, she's my mom and she loves me and she cares for me so much. But I was scared to go to her because I didn't want her to think like she was doing something wrong or it was like her fault or like she wasn't being a good enough mom or, because I'm not a parent, but like to me, if my child came to me and was like, I want to kill myself, I would be like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
That's not good enough, But I went to her in her room. She's like laying in bed on her phone doing something. And I was like, hey, like, can I talk to you about something? And she's like, yeah, sure. And so then I got in bed and like started cuddling with her and just was weeping. Yeah. Floodgates open, and the emotions came out. But I told her and she was crying too, and we were just holding each other and we talked about it and I told her what I was feeling and how I've been feeling this way for a while, and it really didn't click that it was the concussion, if it was, now I know there's a lot of evidence that shows it probably was, but she opened up to me about her own mental health struggles and everything, and that it helped.
She shared some similar background in that.
Yeah.
Struggles with.
Even around the same age, as me, which it was comforting, again, knowing that I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
People say that.
Yeah, sure.
You're not alone.
But
that sentence doesn't comfort anybody.
Yeah, like, okay, thanks. So what would you say, anyone listening, maybe they're that middle school age?
Struggling or in that thing.
Or, what would you tell them today as you look at this story in retrospect?
Go to your people who are real people and aren't trying to be robots in society, trying to please people. Go to someone you can actually have like a conversation with that can have that hard conversation and not try and end the sentence an exclamation point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if that is a therapist or a doctor or a teacher, there's so many people in your life struggling that you have no idea about. But if you're bold enough or get to a point where you are broken enough that you have to reach out to somebody, I can almost guarantee you'll be surprised at their understanding.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so.
And it hurts, but we're all human.
Yeah. That doesn't matter what you've been through. There's a lot of similarities in how we cope, the mental narratives that we create. And, at the gym at ATF, we have, this program that is really less about the physical. That may be how people came in, but it's about this piece, right? Yeah. It's about the ability to be vulnerable, open up what that little voice in your head is saying that's trying to convince you that you'll never this, right? That you're not worthy, all these things. And as soon as you get it out, then it lessens a little bit. This is my story too, whether it's from the opiate addiction I had leaving the league, whether it was the identity crisis of just not knowing what I would do next, that lost feeling, and you're right, so many people, that's a common human thing, and that imposter syndrome is real. And so I think, the enemy, the devil, the difficulty in life comes when we try to repress those feelings. Where does social media come in all this? Because there was the concussion, led to this, you ultimately opened up to your mom. You guys made an action plan, or what was sort of the outcome of that conversation in bed, and how did you guys move forward? And then where did social media come in all this mix?
Yeah. So we had that conversation in bed, talked about it. She opened up to me about her struggles with mental health and depression and suicide, which were heavy to hear that my mom was struggling too, because I was like, I hate this. I don't want this for anyone I love or care about or anybody, It's terrible and nobody should have to experience it. She told me that she was on medication for it, but it was one of those things that if you're on medication for it, it's not something you go on and off. It's kind of something long-term.
Yep.
And she didn't want that for me. And so I started seeing a therapist, and that helped a lot. I started journaling and finding outlets and things like that. And I stopped going after a while, but I had and still have a best friend, Kendall, and she was like my person because she was going through the same things. She was in cheerleading as well, different level and everything, but we did school cheer together, we did school together, and then we were at the same gym together, but on different teams and like different sections and everything. But she was there experiencing everything I was, but in a different realm. And so we just always were there for each other, texting each other, talking the whole day, and then texting on the phone constantly, you know. And she and her family are completely different than me and my family. So we could give each other different perspectives and just vent to each other, and we didn't ever have to pretend to be okay. We could share our most broken thoughts and feelings without judgment, because it turns out like we were both feeling it. And it was cool. She was my age, you know, and is my age. She is.
Yeah. So you're in middle school, body's changing, hormones, you're dealing with this, why am I here? Why do I matter? You know, this depression, these mood swings. At what point did social media come into the picture, and was that helpful in sort of, because you mentioned journaling, and you certainly have a gift for putting up a camera, being you, being authentically Makayla, but being real and being honest about what stuff you were dealing with. And obviously like the TikTok and Instagram and otherwise platforms, you have a great following. You had a great following even before the accident. So at what point did social media come in, and why was it really important to you?
So the social media started to pick up once I got, when I went to the main gym and I made the highest level team, and I was on the team with all the collegiate athletes. That's when the social media picked up, because again, it is that world that you're in, and I was on one of the most famous teams in the cheerleading world that you can be on. And so getting on that team, there's things that come with it, you know, and social media was one of it. I had social media and was posting and was highlighted in like the cheerleading routine. Again, I said I had like amazing jumps. So I was the first ever like person to be in the very, very front in front of all the guys. And you know, like the first time we went out and performed, then you go on Twitter and boom, my name's everywhere now, you know, and gaining followers and followers and followers was weird. Again, at 12. Again,
Little Mac.
The coolest thing in the world, you know, and people at middle school are like, what's going on, you know? Would
you get recognized even that young? Like,
not really.
But within the cheer world?
Within the cheer world, Any competition we'd go to, pictures. Hey, get in my TikTok, you know, all this stuff, which is cool. And
Was that pressure driven though? Like, was there this need to sort of keep up with the persona that you'd represented on social, even though behind, you know, the closed doors you were still dealing with this like identity, sort of who am I, and this evolution and this kind of overcoming all the other mental health stuff?
Thankfully, not really. Honestly, I can like confidently say that. I have had very positive experiences with social media, so I continue to do it. Because again, it's an app. I could literally delete it, poof, gone out of my life, you know? And that's a decision that I can make. I can post when I want, and I can post when I don't want, you know?
So your identity wasn't tethered to how many followers, how many likes. Was there bullying?
No, not really. So the team, I mean, yes, but no.
Trolls.
Yeah. I mean, the team we were on, so they had a YouTube channel that was very famous and popular, and so they would like vlog our practices and our competitions and everything. And I was one of the main people on it, again, because I have a big personality and
front and center, big flyer.
The cameras don't scare me, and I can be myself around people. And I think also just because I was a lot younger, people were like, who's this chick, you know? She gets on this team and is already in front, where there's people that have been on this team in 5 years and are still in the very back, you know? Like, who is this girl, you know? So I've had positive experiences with social media and negative, of course. You know, after that first competition, Twitter's not always your friend, you know? And their Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, like people are ruthless. People do not care, you know. So going on there and seeing mainly positive things, it was cool. But then seeing things and it's like, you know, I don't even remember. But of course, negative things with your name attached to it at such a young age when all these things are going on, when everybody around me is going through puberty, and you're like, who am I? What am I worth? You know, all those things.
With the developments just sort of at that age, you know, back to adolescence and puberty, you're obviously growing, size is changing, body figure is changing. I mean, I'm sure some of your teammates, right? Like naturally cheer, the size you have to be to do a position like you have to do, that means like you have to be mindful of the weight that you're at.
Yeah.
But you're also a young kid who's developing, and it's not like a kid should be cutting calories.
Yeah.
So what was that sort of paradigm for you, and how did you approach that in a healthy way, and how was it maybe unhealthy at times with body image and other stuff?
Yeah, that was a big chunk of my growing up, young adult life. And I still think back on it and hate it. It was, I would say, 4 years, as long as I was on that team, and through COVID and everything. So when I got on the team, I was little kid, you know, little girl body, and it was so light and easy to throw around, get up in the air, you know, no problems there. And then when COVID hit, we stopped working out. You know, I was high impact athlete, you know, so I was late in development with everything. I started my period and all that during COVID because we stopped practicing. I stopped tumbling and everything.
Body caught up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was weird because, again, when I go to school, everyone around me is young women, okay? Yeah. I'm still young little girl, which is totally fine. Like, I was never self-conscious about that. I thought it was amazing because I was like, look at my body. I'm pushing it so hard that, I don't know, I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and COVID was hard for a lot of people, a lot of different things. It was hard for me. I wasn't practicing as much. You know, they were doing like virtual practices and everything, but it was nothing.
Yeah.
And I started going through puberty and gaining weight, healthy weight, now that I see. But in that time, I hated myself because I was like, I'm gaining weight. First off, cheerleading and a lot of sports, eating disorders are the most common thing in the world, especially cheerleading and the level I was at. And again, it's something a lot of people don't talk about.
So it was all around you?
It was all around me.
Was it? Tell me of situations where it was common.
Oh, I got on the team and like had sleepovers with girls, and it's like, you don't have that eating, like you don't throw up every day. And again, these girls are girls I've looked up to for years, you know, and they're like my idols. And I'm like, no, like
binge purge, binge parties.
Yeah. And I was like, like I don't.
Yeah, so were you
should
judged
I?
for
You know?
not, right?
And everyone was super sweet, like nice about it, and was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Is it cool?
Yeah, am I supposed to have this?
I was like, I look up to you like so much, like you're my role model. But then I like saw those things and like, again, back to the hard-headed thing, I like made I was like, Makayla, you're never doing that. Like you are never doing that.
So
like,
even though you were convinced you weren't going to go that direction, like it still weighed on you though with body image. Did they make comments? Did your teammates make comments?
Yeah. So COVID happened. Again, I never ever wanted myself to even get to 100 pounds because, again, the girls that are this age, they're and older, I'm like, they are women. Like, they have boobs, they have butts, you know, but they're getting on the scale and throwing up and doing all these things and not eating and going on these extreme diets. Like, that's my future. That's what I have to do. And it sucks. Like, you know, you have to fuel your body to work out.
Yeah, to perform.
To even, yeah. And so it was a struggle. So during COVID, I mean, I gained weight and I got to 100 pounds and I got over 100 pounds because I was growing,
Yeah.
you know, and I was never like chunky or anything. I was just going through puberty and my body was catching up. So when cheer started back up again, I looked a little different. And then I started experiencing different things with cheerleading that were really difficult. And again, people did like make comments. And again, I look back at pictures now and I'm like, I was so tiny.
Give me an example of things
Yeah.
people would say.
People would like, you would go to different bases. So I would go to you, you throw me in the air, I twist up and land on one hand in your air. You throw me and, you know, I do a twist, I do whatever, and I land on your hand. And, okay, knock out 15 more reps of that. Go, like, you're doing it. And I would get comments like, oh my gosh, Makayla, like, you feel really heavy today. Like, what have you eaten, you know? And
That's specific, like today.
Oh, so many, like, it's literally engraved in my brain, obviously, because that's not something you ever want to hear as a 14-year-old girl.
No, I mean, I'm listening.
Think how self-conscious a 14-year-old girl is by themselves with 20,000 followers on Instagram, getting comments about all these different things, blah, 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 blah. And then I have older boys telling me, like, you feel heavy. Or like, it was never like, you look heavy. It was just like, you feel heavy.
I mean, as a dad of 2 young girls who
Yeah.
are 10 and 8, like, this is the scariest thing ever to hear, right? And whether they cheer or not, I
Yeah.
think society, social
Yeah.
media, the bubble that is how I present myself versus, like, in reality, what's healthy, what's good for wellness, what's good for longevity, like, that's a huge disconnect. So when those comments were made, did you, like, you mentioned Kendall, your battle buddy, like, disability, like, was she dealing with some of the same? And so, like, you could have each other and that bond and share that?
Yeah. And again, like, I don't want to share her story and her struggles and everything, but yeah, we were able to find
Common ground.
common ground. Again, she was a teenage girl, just like me, struggling with things in a different way, but it was so hard and my mental health was so bad, as you can imagine. You already self-doubt so much, and then you know, you can look in the mirror and I can be like, I look like a little bigger today, you know, or you could get on the scale. But then to have somebody say it to you and like verify those self-doubts, the worst thing. And thankfully, like, my self-confidence was never like down, but it just sucked.
Yeah, just robs the why am I doing
sucked.
this? Yeah.
I'm practicing 5 days a week, okay?
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm on an emotional roller coaster. I'm on my period. Like, I'm just a teenage girl. Like, I'm a freshman in high school, whatever. And it's just like, then I go to my work, which is my job. And again, I love cheerleading. I love being an athlete. I would not change it for the world. And again, it's not the team's fault. It's not the gym's fault. It's not the sport's fault. It's just how it was. It's the culture of it, you know? There's the downside of everything.
Sure.
And that's just how it was. And again, I knew inevitably I would be a part of it at some point, but kind of pushed it off because I didn't want to deal with it. But yeah, like, it sucked knowing, okay, here we go. I have to go and deal with this. And food became like my main focus on everything.
Counting calories. Mm-hmm. Everything was
watermelon diets, you know, smoothies, blah, 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 like all the stuff. But again, it's like, if I restricted what I was eating, then I would have no energy at practice. And I couldn't perform well. But then if I was fueling myself with protein and carbs and all the good stuff,
then you were heavy.
You feel really heavy, you know?
Getting called out for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and then, like, coaches would be like, why'd that fall? They'd be like, I'm tired.
And you'd just be standing there.
Yeah, like,
Like,
that's sad.
it is. It's incredibly
It's
sad.
really sad.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't think about it that way. It's just like, okay, this is just
It's
culture.
part
It's
of
just
it.
how it is. I didn't know any different. But like looking back, like I see like a little picture of like me and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like it makes me emotional now because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Like that hurts. But it just sucks. Because it's part of being a teenage girl, you know? It's not the sport.
Yeah.
And guys deal with it too.
Yeah.
But it's just really hard.
Yeah. Well, I'd say what you ultimately have faced is way harder.
Yeah.
Yet, again, you have this progression from moving here and getting, invited to this private tryout and then pulled privately to the side and then put with all these older kids and win this world championship. You're honored and decorated. And now you're getting into middle school. This accident happens with the brain injury.
Yeah.
Kind of unbeknownst to you what the hangover effects or the after effects are
Yeah.
emotionally and mentally. You do open up to your mom, right? There's at least you have trusted partner, right?
Yes.
In Kendall and your mom and the ability to go, look, like cheer is still where I want to perform. This is the arena for me.
Mm-hmm.
But you get into high school, you mentioned COVID happening, the changes in your body image. At some point, was there a moment that you were like, I'm done with this?
Yeah.
Talk about how you came to that moment and what the thinking was, what you were feeling.
Well, I think, again, winning everything in the sport,
Very
my first year at the highest level, I was doing everything else kind of just for decoration, I won everything when I was in 8th grade, and I knew I was going to cheer all through high school and then cheer at college and cheer throughout college. So I was like, I'm in the sport, I'm doing it, but like I've already won everything. Again, that's amazing and it's such a blessing, but it's also like,
So what?
I can kind of sit back and chill. Like, there's nothing else I can win until I go to college.
And then you had
But
planned.
even then, people can win the collegiate, like, national championship, but never win the world championship because that's the world championship.
Did you have plans to cheer in college?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like had all that set.
Right.
Like,
Scholarship.
Again, being so young, I was going to events and early tryouts for incoming freshmen when I was 13.
Where do you think you would have cheered in college?
Oh, I was going to cheer at OU, University of Oklahoma. That was all set. I had talked to the coaches, kind of had everything set up at 13. I was literally at the camp for incoming freshmen going to try out. Maybe didn't tell everybody my age. Like, I looked a little smaller than everyone else. Again, this was before. So I looked a little smaller than the other girls, but I was like, I'm gonna go out there and do my thing, So I went out there and was stunning with the guys. Again, it was nothing new. I was around college
Used to it.
athletes all the time. It wasn't intimidating. Again, it's like, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do my thing. And then the coaches were pulling me aside like, hey, can we get your phone number? Like, can we get your information? And when the boys would be like, hey, like, come here. Like, I want to try this stunt with you. Like, blah, 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 blah.
You felt
Again,
special.
because I'm younger,
Yeah.
I weigh less than these 18-year-old girls.
Yep.
But I was very talented in the sport, and I knew my body so incredibly well. And I had so much control over my body that I was set apart from the big crowd of a lot older girls than me. So
let's go back to high school.
Yeah.
And sort of this feeling that you'd achieved pretty much anything you could, maxed out. And so, again, it's cheer's still you, and you're still like, this is as an athlete, this is how I choose to perform. But at what point did you start to realize that, like, I'm done with this, and vocalize that to your mom?
I think 15, 16.
Okay.
Around that time. It was like my 3rd year on the team,
Yep.
First year, won everything. 2nd year was pretty rocky.
Yep.
3rd year, kind of rocky too, Just mid.
Yeah. COVID would have been 3rd year, 2nd, 3rd year, something like that.
End of 2nd, start of 3rd.
Yeah. So then you're coming back, your body's changed.
I'm coming back. I had a break.
Yep.
And I was like, a break is nice.
Yeah, suddenly
Never
now
had
you're
one
like,
of those before.
What is that? Yeah, what does this
You
feel
know,
like?
there's no off season
Yeah.
for us, so it was like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And then coming back and having all these negative experiences, of course, it did put the thought in, like, why am I doing this?
Did the suicidal stuff start coming back up?
I'm sure it did. On the top of my brain, no, but just the instant I wake up, it's like, all right, what am I gonna eat today? First off, I'm starving because I didn't eat that much yesterday, and so I would go into just eating a bunch.
Was your mom concerned? Could she see this pattern?
No, I was pretty good at hiding it.
Yeah.
No, but I talked to her about it a lot, and she knew about it and everything. And again, there's nothing you can do. Like, you want to protect your child, but
Yeah. And this time with your family, what was the picture like, right? Because again, there's the public persona that is Mac the cheerleader, and then there's sort of the community persona that is your family. And what was there? I don't know. Was there a shift that was happening both within you and also outside of you between cheer and your identification and your family dynamic?
yeah, definitely a shift again. I think it was COVID. That was the big thing. My dad is a private pilot, so he went from flying and never really being home much, you know, and my mom basically being the parent from since I was born, you know, to now, okay, my dad's home. This is a new aspect in the family dynamic. And then Connor was off at OU. Mariah was off at college. Now she's back home, you know. And it was weird being at home with so many people. The dynamic in the house was like, I don't want to say hostile, but it kind of was like
Problematic.
problematic is a good word. Yeah, I would stay in my room a bunch, just kind of do my own thing. My dad and I never really had a good relationship. It was never bad, you know, it was just kind of surface level. Like, all right, I know this guy, but like.
What was his big priority as far as, you know, you, cheer, social media, just the sort of outward part? Like, was he involved in presenting you to the world as this person? Was there, you know, ever time when, I don't know, you felt like his identification with how he wanted to have his family seen was different than the reality that was actually behind closed doors?
Yeah, so my two sides of my family are very different, which I'm sure most people have.
Of course.
Completely different dynamics. So my mom's side of the family is very active, very athletic, very driven, lots of tough love, you know. But we could be real with each other, you know. We can let our guards down and be ourselves and be inappropriate and be gross and
just
all
authentic,
the things. Authentic, yeah. And then my dad's side of the family is very more proper, more academic, more art, more like we have to be perfect. We have to be seen as this perfect family to present ourselves to other people, you know.
Just polished, yeah.
Polished, yeah. So my dad being home more, it was weird because I was always a little bit different around him than when he was not around. And then with my grandparents on his side, you know, you're a little more polished and thinking about what you're gonna say before you say it. And I can't be my full genuine self, which is sad, but that's just kind of how it was. You know, if you grow up in something you don't realize, it's sad. But with my dad being home more, it just changed everything. And so I didn't like it, honestly. Adding a new dynamic and then him trying to tell me what to do and all these things when that has never been there before. It's like, okay, I don't like this. You know, no one likes being told what to do. and it's just like, okay, I don't like this. But when he was home, he would go and take me to practice and do stuff. And once my cheerleading career started to pick up and I started to gain a following and everything, he seemed to gain like more interest in me, want to put more time into spending time with me and people knowing about me and my success in cheerleading and everything.
So he started to find a little identity in your success, in your persona.
Which, again, was what I saw happening with girls all around me, but with their moms, usually, you know? And so I was able to, like, identify that, and I hated it, you know? So I gained, like, a resistance towards him. And, yeah, resisted him because I was like, no.
Yeah. So you're going to your mom and talking about kind of the deep underlying struggles. And then your dad, of course, has found this affinity for the attention and, you know, Makayla the golden child, Makayla the golden girl is cheer world champion, you know, this girl that has this huge following.
Yeah.
So at what point did all of the net of what was shifting inside the house, what kind of shifted inside of you with the sport, like that was so going into your junior year, right? Because that would have been September 20th of your junior year.
My accident, yeah.
So talk about the sort of the lead up, where you were with cheer, and then some of the sort of premonitions that may have occurred before September 20th goes down.
So there's a lot of things people don't know because I was struggling really hard before my accident with my mental health and depression and suicide, that I kind of secluded myself. So I, again, was struggling with food, and that was literally all on my mind 24/7 for so long. And again, I was like, what's the point of cheerleading? Like, I'm working so hard, and I'm waking up before school, going to the gym to try and lose weight before I go to high school all day, and then go straight from the high school to my gym and working out for 2 to 3 to 4 hours, coming home at night, sleeping, doing it all again. There was just a point where, again, I was like, this is not worth it. I hate my life right now. It's not because of the people in it or because of school. It's all because of cheer. I've achieved everything I can in cheer. I'm only doing it because of wanting to cheer in college and achieve those goals. And I just thought and prayed about it so much and talked to my friends and my mom about it. But I just remember going to my mom and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, Mom, I am tough. Like, I am so tough and I have been so strong for so long. And I am not a quitter. Like, I know that. And like, but if something does, like, I just straight up told her, I was like, Mom, like, I promise I'm not being dramatic, but like, if nothing changes, like, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, I would rather kill myself than continue living life the way I am right now, because I am absolutely miserable. And that's hit hard for her. Like, I cannot imagine. And again, I felt so guilty even going and saying that, but I was like, I cannot do this anymore. This is destroying me as a person.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was months before my injury. And so
you'd quit. I mean,
went, my mom was like, no, you're like, again, we're gonna do this the right way, because my coaches were like my parents as well. I mean, they saw me grow up, and I was with them so much. Like, they were my parents. I love them to this day. Still text them, call them, everything. Like, I love them, and they have taught me so much. So I went in and had a meeting with them, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, you know? Yeah. Having to sit and tell them what's been going on in my brain.
Yeah, it was like a breakup, right?
It hurt.
Yeah.
Like, it hurt because I cared about them so much.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to see me go.
They tried to talk you into staying?
Yeah, of course, because I was I was good for the team, and I was a team leader, and I was one of the oldest vets on the team. Yeah. But they, of course, loved me more as a person than an athlete. So they're like, we want what's best for you, Makayla, not Makayla, the cheerleader. So again, that was difficult, and I stepped away. I was still doing school cheer because that was something that I enjoyed, and again, it was so much more chill and fun. Yeah. It was actually fun for me.
Back to like I don't know what normal is, but a typical cheerleader high school experience, not this level of my work.
It wasn't work. Yeah. It was fun. It was fun to be on the sidelines Friday nights, hanging, cheering with my friends,
Did you feel free
It was
after
so
making that?
freeing. Oh my gosh, David. Yeah. Like once I did that, I felt like a human being again. I was like, whoa, like I don't have to focus on what I'm eating. Again, I am not overweight at all. I probably weighed 110, 115, and
tiny.
Had a beautiful body, And I found like such a love again for working out and building my muscles because I still have a very athletic build, just like my mom and the love side of my family, which is my mom's side of the family. We are athletically built, we're athletes, So I found a love for lifting and actually fueling my body so I could lift heavy weights and everything, which was so cool. I joined my high school's powerlifting team. Loved it, like geeked out.
Mac the powerlifter.
Oh my gosh, I loved it so much. Like legs, butt, core, give it to me. Like I love it, which is again funny now, because I can't do any of those things. But
I see you in the gym.
Hey, I'm still working out, but it was just, I loved it. It was so much fun. Yeah. And again, I was like, I enjoy working out and feeling this beautiful body that I have that God has given me. And then going into the summer, I went to church camp, again with Kendall and Evelyn, Grace, and Ava, my girls. Went to church camp and just really let myself escape from all the family struggles that was going on at home, all my personal struggles, and I got to go and be a kid. That was the first camp I've ever went to.
Did you have faith before?
I did, yeah. We went to church, but this is when I chose it myself, It was my decision.
It being your faith, personal relationship.
Is with that God, yeah. And so it was really cool. I had the most amazing week, and I accepted Christ, and I got baptized in the ocean. And there were dolphins in the background. There are videos of dolphins in the background. It was just the most divine and beautiful experience. And it was cool because I had madness going on at home, in my home, but my girls were my home. And so I got to experience that with my people. Yeah.
So you're riding this high.
And I called my family and was like, hey, I'm getting baptized at church camp. And it's again, I know the church camp high is a thing. And I knew that before, but I had planned, I already knew I wanted to get baptized that week, way before I even went, So, I was on a high with God, just had created such a deeper relationship with him, and then went back into the school year. Decided I wanted to graduate high school early as a junior. I was 16, talked to my counselors, did all that stuff. So I was a junior, but technically a senior, considered a senior. So grouped with the grade above me. I was a senior on the cheer team, and I was just
getting ready for school and football, homecoming.
Yep.
So talk to us about that. Talk to us about the days that led up to September 20th, and then take me to the moment that everything changed.
Madness, just weird things. I was very different, I guess, months months and especially days leading up to my accident, which now I see as kind of like God's protection.
Weird in what way? Different in what way? Premonition, spidey senses?
Yeah, as weird as it is.
Yeah.
Like feeling, I knew my life was like stagnant, like it was just kind of calm. And I knew something really big was gonna happen. I was locked in. I thought someone close to me was gonna die, like very tragically. Like I had that, like I knew it was coming. I
Did
didn't
you
know.
have dreams or anything that was surfacing around?
Not really. I just was like, something's gonna happen. Like I know something's coming. I'm just kind of waiting for it to happen. And it was like just so heavy on my heart.
Scary.
It was so scary. And so I just thought someone around me, like one of my people, was gonna die very tragically.
Right.
So again, I looked back through my camera roll and my notes in my journal, and I have things of like writing down, like, I know something big is gonna happen, God. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, obviously I'm so scared, but like, I trust you and like, I give you my everything. I know that like, whatever is about to happen, like, you have me. I am in your hands, you know, which is crazy looking back on it now. But the day of my accident, it was the week of homecoming, and I was a senior, so I was a part of the like dance with the football players, which is like such a big thing in our small town again.
Yep.
It's something you look forward to. Like all growing up, you're like, oh my gosh, like, I get to dance with the varsity football
Yeah,
players.
Prosper, Texas is the quintessential like American dream style homecoming king and queen
especially
and
like
court.
Texas and the South, like
so
it's
big.
all of it. Yeah, it's amazing. Like I love it. It's so cool.
So you're helping the boys prepare.
We're helping the boys. We're doing practice after school.
Where at?
A friend's house.
Okay.
Friend's house, girl's house. We are in the backyard. There's about 15 football players, 15 of us cheerleaders, and we're all just talking, hanging out, waiting for everybody to come and everything. And like the boy I was talking to at the time and going to homecoming with and everything, he was there, and like we were gonna dance together and everything. So like everybody was there, and we started teaching the boys to dance and everything again. Like some of these boys are so not in tune with their body. Like the dance was very simple. And then we got to a part where we like each got to do like our own little thing. Like each couple got to do like a little trick or like a little dance move, whatever it may be. And so we were teaching the boys like a specific part. And so another one of the world champion cheerleaders who's been cheering her whole life, and I've grown up with her since middle school, her and she was my base, went to show everybody this one move. So everybody like circled up, we're like, hey, like everybody pay attention, like this is what we're doing next, you know? And she was like, Makayla, come here, like, let's just show them. And I was like, okay.
Did you have any hesitation? Was there anything you can recall?
Yeah, I mean, this day, September 20th, is a day like I remember.
Vivid.
Like it was yesterday. Like I can tell you everything. Like I can tell you I took a Snapchat in the mirror like right before and sent it to my cousin and was like so excited, like I'm about to go teach the varsity football player, like boys, you know, how to do this Southern dance, you know, and I sent it and then got in the car and my mom drove me and I drank a Celsius on the way and had a few snacks and said bye to my family, and they were making dinner and we were gonna eat it when we get home. And since it was homecoming, all my siblings were in town and all my grandparents were in town. And since it was like my senior year, everybody was there, you know? And so I was like, okay, like bye, like see y'all later, you know? And then we get to that moment and she's like, okay, do this. And I was like, I've never done this before, but I was like, it's easy, like I got it. Like, look at all the things I've done. Like,
was there times when it, like you, your coaches, your parents be like, look, we don't do these in backyard stuff. Like this is practice inside of the arena within practice schedules and gyms, and not doing backyard stuff for the risk of injury. Because I remember your mom once saying to me that she didn't let you do things so you wouldn't get hurt for cheerleading.
Yeah, like I wouldn't go roller skating and I wouldn't go ice skating, and there's certain things just I was cautious about because I was in cheerleading and I didn't want to get injured. No one wants to get injured, but I was very precautious about specific things because of my quote unquote job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my mom dropped me off. I was 16. I couldn't drive yet. My mom dropped me off and, she said the regular mom things. It's like, bye, I love you. Like, be safe. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid.
Love that.
And like, I'll see you. Like, just text me when you need to get picked up. I was like, okay. Like, okay, bye, mom. Love you. The things.
Okay. Yeah.
Literally. That you hear every day, So I got out of the car, got inside, everything, and we get to this moment, and I'm like, crap, I've never done this before. Like, I'm a little scared, but I'm like, Makayla, look at the stuff you've done. I'm like, got it. Yeah, I've got it. I'm fine. And like, all these people are watching, like, you're fine. And so I put my arms on her shoulders, gave her my leg, and we were gonna do like the thing where you do a backflip. Someone lifts your leg and they give you the extra boost to do a backflip.
All these eyes are on you.
Yeah, probably like 30 people. And again, everybody was a grade above me. And again, in high school, you think like that's the coolest thing ever. I'm like, all these boys got it. And so I was like, yeah, I got this. Like, I don't really want to do this, but whatever. Like, be a team player, you're fine. And so I went to do it and pushed off and realized the second I left her hands, like this is about to be bad. Like, I left it off and realized I did not just go up. Like, I just got shot back. And it was my fault and it was her fault. Like, I can acknowledge that it was not her fault completely and it was not my fault completely. It was an accident, And it was an accident. But the moment I left her hands, I was like, oh my gosh, this is bad.
You knew the angle of takeoff and just...
Again, the amount of flips I do and have done in my lifetime, I knew instantly I was about to hit the ground. And again, it feels like one of those, I think movies kind of explain it best, like when you're moving in slow motion. And it's like literally scene by scene, like...
Yeah, so you're not going to make it around.
No. I knew I wasn't going to make it. And so the instant I left her arms, I was like, crap. And my head was back and I could see the floor. And I'm very good with my body in the air. Second nature to me. I'm used to it. Like, I know where my body is in air. Yep. And I realized there's absolutely no way I'm going to make it around. Like, I'm about to hit the floor. And my head was back and I hit the ground and it was straight on my throat on the ground. And then my neck turned sideways, obviously completely broke my neck and my spinal cord. And my neck landed to the side. And I've heard all different things, people being dramatic and traumatic experience, hello.
Everyone's perspective around it.
But they said like my whole body like scorpioned over. So like my whole body weight was coming down on my neck. My heavy 115 pounds.
Yeah.
Was just coming straight down but again, like coming down on my neck. And then I knew
what did it feel like? Yeah.
The pain, like I can still feel like the pain if I think about it. It's like when you get hit in the nose and it like stings, or like when you just get hit really hard. I'm sure you've experienced this, obviously, maybe a few times, where your whole body just like stings.
Yeah.
And like, the noise when it's like, I don't know that sound, but you know what I mean.
I know exactly.
And your whole body's just like.
So you're in the air, it's not good. There's this oh crap moment.
Yeah.
Then there's a moment that you hit the ground.
I hit the ground.
You're folded in half.
My neck, everybody is this way. My neck is turned, completely broken. Turn this way, I'm laying on the ground.
Instantly, you can't move.
I knew I was paralyzed instantly. And I tell people that, David, it was a God thing. I knew instantly I was paralyzed. Again, not a feeling I had felt before. I knew instantly I was paralyzed, so I did not try to move. And I had this peace that, again, I feel like only comes from God. I didn't try to move. I didn't cry. I didn't say ow, you know, nothing. I laid there and was just like calm. Because again, being an athlete, injuries happen all the time. Injuries happen around you all the time, you know. And so you know how to be when that happens. Like, freaking out's the worst thing you can do. It's just gonna make everything worse. You're gonna make yourself panic, everyone else around you panic. But it was scary, and I knew it was serious by the feelings I was feeling in my body and the fact that I was turned away from everybody. Everyone was over here, and no one said anything. Everyone was quiet.
It's quiet. So you feel, was there pain locally specific to that feeling of getting popped in the nose, the neck? Did you feel anything in the body? Was there pain in the body? Okay, so there's pain in the body, but you just couldn't move anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, my neck hurt so bad, as you can imagine. All that force going just straight on the ground outside. My neck and shoulders were just like in excruciating pain. And then like the middle of my back felt like it was on fire. Like I thought I broke both my neck and my back. The middle of my back was on fire. It felt like the sun was burning it, like a laser beam was like burning my back. I almost had more pain in my back than I did my neck. Crazy. I thought my neck was hurting. I thought I probably broke my neck, but it was my back that really hurt.
You're in this incredibly excruciating, searing pain. You're stuck in a position, you can't move your body, you're
not trying to move.
Certain that you've broken your neck. It's quiet. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Well, I'm like, the first thought was, this is so embarrassing. You know, which again, now looking back, I'm like, that was the stupidest thing ever. But I was
You're a high school girl. And
I just fell in front of all these people. Like, I'm about to have to get up and be like, well, that sucked. You know? But I realized pretty quickly that I wasn't getting up. And this was really serious.
How quickly did sound start to become present? Like when there was panic and they're calling for the ambulance, your mom, all that?
Yeah, so it turns out that we had only been practicing for like 20 minutes. My mom wasn't even home yet. So again, everyone was calm. Thankfully, we're all like athletes and everybody was pretty calm. No one was like, I mean, I'm sure people were panicking and like there were people like throwing up on the side, but like, again, I was faced this way. I couldn't see any of that and I was focused on myself in that moment. I was staying calm, but there was one boy who was like kind of took charge, you know, and again, like you aren't thinking properly, like things just, emotions take over, you know. So a boy was like, hey, find her phone, like call her mom. And because I wasn't like calling ambulance, we were like, just call my mom. And so a girl called my mom and was like, hey, Miss Noble, like, can you come back? Miss Makayla's been injured. And my mom was like, yeah, sure, like I'll come back, like I'm on my way.
She just thought,
and she didn't,
typical
broken ankle.
Yeah.
My mom was probably like, oh, she broke her ankle, like something like that, you know? And before this, I had never broken a bone or anything. So my spine was my first bone.
Hey, let's just start with the spinal cord. Go big.
Go big or go home. That's how we do it. So my mom did that. And again, heaven sent, someone went in and got the mom from inside. She was a nurse. Crazy. Wow. She comes out, she gets water, ice packs. Obviously, thankfully, nobody tried to move me. No one moved anything. I was still laying there, the exact position that I was in. And she brought ice packs because, again, I was so hot. Like, it felt like my back was on fire. Didn't move me, but, you know, was just talking to me like, hey, sweetie.
Keep it
like,
calm.
How is your day? All this stuff again. And I, like, rolled my eyes. I was like, you don't have to do this. Like, I know what you're doing. Again, I'm completely aware. I don't know how. I'm in shock and this hurts, but I'm okay. Like, but again, did the whole small talk thing, and then the girl called my mom back, and my mom was like, "What? Why are they calling again?" She was like, "Hey, Miss Noble, like, I just think you should hurry. Like, we've called an ambulance, and like, Makayla can't feel her body, and I know you'll have to talk to my mom about how she is experiencing, but Obviously, she started to freak out and picked up the speed a little bit.
Stepped on it?
Yeah, and headed to the house. The paramedics arrived before she did, which I think was good, you know, and was calm with them. I'd been seriously injured with that concussion, but never really had to deal with paramedics and
ambulance,
medical professionals and all this stuff. And I could care less about all of the teenagers around me, you know?
Yeah.
Because I was like, this
It's
is bad. They had to turn me, had to do a full circle all the way around. And again, I was like, this is about to be really painful. And they're like, this is about to be really painful.
Did they give you anything for pain before that?
Not until I got in the ambulance.
Oh, wow.
Put me on the stretcher, put me in a neck brace, they were starting to put me into the ambulance when my mom got there. And I recall, like, they stopped and talked to her, like, before they saw me, basically being like, hey, like, you need to be calm for her, you know?
Yeah.
You need to be strong.
They got to her before she could get to you.
Mm-hmm. But when she got to me, I was like, hey, Mom, like, I'm gonna be okay. Like, I'll be fine, you know? And I know that's not what she was expecting, obviously. Like, you would expect tears and screaming, crying because of the pain that I was in. But I just had this calm that I was okay.
Do you remember any of the things that you said to her? Was there anything?
Yeah. The ambulance ride, she rode with me. Mm-hmm. Again, I was talking to the firefighters and the EMTs and everything, making jokes with them. They still make fun of me and still talk about it to this day, about like things that I said to them and everything. Started to give me medicine and IVs, which
helped you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And they were doing testing, you know, cutting my shoes off, and I was like, no, don't cut those shoes off. I was like, those are my sisters. Like, I'm wearing no, don't. And they were like, no, we need to, like, cut them off to, like, make sure. And I was like,
nope.
Don't do that. You do not want to mess with Mariah.
Yeah.
And I was like, she's going to be pissed. Like, and they were like, no, like, it's okay. Like, she'll understand. And I was like, like, you.
What a wild thing to be worried about.
Yeah, and again, I was worried about stupid things. And they were doing all the tests, like, can you feel this? Can you feel this? No, 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 no. Can you feel this? No. Like, what? No.
With each no, are you realizing the gravity of those answers?
My mom was, but not me. Again, I was like...
Should be okay.
I was like, duh, I can't feel that. I knew the second I hit the ground, I couldn't feel nothing. Like, it felt like chest, other than the extreme pain, it felt like it was just gone. And again, like, I love analogies, and I always go back to, like, movies because I feel like you can understand it in that way, because there's no way to describe these feelings, but it literally felt just, like, invisible. Like, my body, chest down.
Just gone.
Other than the pain, is just gone. Invisible. You know, like Harry Potter, invisible cloak. Like, it was just gone. Like, it wasn't there. It wasn't heavy. It wasn't anything. It was just not there, you know? And so they're like, can you feel this? Can you feel this? Can you feel this? And I'm like, no. Like, the answer is no. Yeah. Like, you know this.
Yeah.
And so they were, like, saying different things, you know, saying, like, we need to go to a Trauma 1 center. Like, I know we're passing lots of hospitals on the way. And I'm like, okay, this is serious. And I'm like, realizing, like, I'm not gonna be home for dinner, and, like, this is about to be a long night, and I was, like, angry.
Are you praying during this time? Are you starting to, like...
Really? I wasn't.
Okay. You were just kind of more aware to present circumstance, missing dinner, your family's in town.
I was thinking about things that would happen this night. So I was like, okay, first off, I'm hungry. I'm mad that I'm not gonna get dinner with my family, and, like, you know, going to the hospital, the emergency room, like, everything takes forever. So I was like, okay, this is about to be a long night. And then I was taking college classes, and I was like, shoot, like, I'm going to miss the first college test I have. And this professor was terrifying, like, so scary, like a really old guy Like, you don't miss class. You don't miss these tests for anything. Like, I don't care if you have COVID. I don't care if, like, what's happening. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, you will be at these tests. There's only 4. We only have 4 assignments this whole year. You'll be there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have this tomorrow. I was like, I have to go. I have to be okay. Like, I cannot miss it. And the EMTs are like, oh, like, sweetie, like, it's okay. Like, he'll understand. I was like, you don't understand.
You don't know this guy.
And I started crying. Like, that was the first time, like, I had emotions with all of this. I started crying. It was
related
because
to the school.
I was going to miss this college test. And again, like, I don't really care about school, but I was terrified of this guy. I was like, I'm not missing it. Like, I have to be there. And they're like, no, it's like, okay. And I was crying, still on the way to the hospital. It was pretty far away. And I remember, like, calm down, and I was talking to my mom. I was like, hey, can you take a picture of me? Like, I'm in an ambulance, like, this is kind of cool. And she's like, no, Makayla, like, I'm not taking a picture of you. Like, this is not the time or the place, you know? But again, I love to capture everything. And I'm like, I know I'm in a lot of pain right now, but, like, I'm excited. Like, I'll want this picture.
Crazy.
Hello, I'm in an ambulance. This is crazy. And so she didn't take a picture, but I was like, please, like, I want to document all this. Like, I knew from the moment, even in all the pain, I wanted to document it. Anyways, we get to the hospital, you know, I'm starting to get in so much pain and starting to feel nauseous and just out of it. Laying in the emergency room. My siblings were able to come in, talk to them, have some wild videos of me talking.
What was the look on their faces? I mean, were they sort of prepped before?
Tried to be prepped, but they were a mess.
They couldn't contain.
No.
And they're looking at their sister.
They had to wear masks in, of course. I was like, first, you're not putting a mask on me. I told her, I was like, no, I'm not wearing a mask. I already can't breathe.
The mask thing was probably helpful for them to try to, like, hide some of the emotion.
Yeah, but I could see their eyes. And, like, I'm big on people's eyes. Like, I've been staring at your eyes this whole time. Like, you can tell, you know. And they were just, like, so upset, but trying to be okay for me, trying to be strong for me. But I was okay.
How was your mom? Was she holding it together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strong.
Who was the first one to, like, really let emotion out?
Mariah and Kendall.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, if I talk about Kendall, like, finding out about me and everything, like, I will break down. But she and her mom, like, rushed straight to the hospital. Like, that girl's like my sister, you know. And she, like, came in, had a mask on, and was, like, petting my hair, and I had, like, fans on me because I was feeling
Are you intubated
terrible.
at this? Intubated
Thankfully, not yet, no. But this was before going into surgery and everything. And she's like, it's okay, like, after all this is done, like, we'll go to Disney World. Like, Disney's our place, like, we love it. She's like, we'll go to Disney World and, like, we'll travel and, like it's gonna be okay, you know. And she, like, had just found out, like, her best friend is never gonna walk again. Her best friend's never gonna do everything again, you know. And she's trying to keep it together for me. And I can see it in my family and my best friend's eyes that, like, things are not okay.
Things are never gonna be what
These
they
are
were.
not gonna be okay. And so I leave and go into surgery, and then the next few days are, like,
So this was a
super hazy.
C4, C5.
C6.
C6, so C5, C6.
Yeah.
Spinal cord injury.
Yeah.
Right, so you broke your neck, but it's impacted the spinal cord.
Severely.
So you go into, and you only had the one surgery.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Thankfully, I mean, not thankfully, but, like, I was supposed to have 2. It was supposed to be the first initial surgery, let swelling and everything come down. Then we go in for the second surgery, but my injury was too severe that they were like, there's no point in the second surgery.
Yeah.
So they did the first surgery, intubated, all of the stuff. I was in the ICU for a long time.
When you wake up from the first surgery, what are you feeling? What's going through your head? At this point, are you praying? Are you talking to God?
Yeah. Lots of pain, obviously.
Yeah.
And just so groggy and tired.
You can't talk because there's a tube in your throat.
Yeah.
Right.
Intubated. That was I don't know. I still hate using the word traumatic because I feel that I'm not worthy to use that word. Like, people have been through so much worse that I'm like, I don't know. I just hate when people say things that, like, that word holds a lot of power.
Sure.
And I don't want to use it lightly like a lot of people do, but it really was traumatic. Like, having that down my throat and just being my arms, I didn't know it at the time, obviously, but like my arms being tied down, both sides, my legs being tied down, which is stupid now, you know, but like everything being tied down because, again, when a lot of people wake up, they want to tear everything out. I was not going to do that, but it was really scary. And I remember like them taking the tube out of my throat and just everything happening. Again, I had no choice but to be strong.
Yeah.
But it was tiring.
Yeah, in your head, what are you thinking? What are you saying to God? Is it why? Is it...
Why was never a question until a lot later, honestly.
Was it... Did you have this feeling like you were going to be okay? Something that sort of transcended all the data of the moment or all the like current status?
Yeah. Well, again, I was like, there's no way I have to go through. Like, I am in this situation. I can't get out of it as much as I want to. Like, I'm in this situation. Okay, let's deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, thankfully, again, I had my people, I had my support, but it's like, this is gonna suck. And this is gonna be so long. Again, didn't realize it was gonna be my whole life, probably. But I was like, this sucks, but I can do it. Like, I can do it, you know?
That fighter in you.
Yeah.
You knew.
I had to be.
Wow. So the doctors eventually come in, right?
Yeah,
At some level.
a few days later,
Okay.
they're like, okay, we're gonna like tell her, you know?
And so talk about that experience of them coming in to essentially tell you what you would do or wouldn't do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, so again, I remember it so vividly. They come in, my family's so nervous, you know, because they're about to tell their daughter, you're never gonna walk again, you're never gonna do all these things. And so they come in and they have like the child life specialist in there, you know, trying to ease it and everything. And they tell me, and I legit say, I know. Like, I was like, I know. Because I knew from the second I was injured. And again, not something I planned or expected, but I knew, and it wasn't a surprise.
Was it a knowing?
I was feeling it, obviously.
Was it a knowing that also was acceptance?
Yeah.
So there was some level of like surrendering to what was out of your control, even though that was news that was just this bomb dropped on you.
Everything was out of my control. I can't move nothing in my body. Everything's out of my control. Like, the only thing I can control right now in this hospital bed, in the ICU with tubes all throughout my body is, again, my mind, my mindset, my brain. So again, that's something I focused on, but I didn't cry till a few days after, you know.
Why? Why do you think so?
Again, not just like, not only why is this happening to me, but it's just like, I want to go back to being carefree teenager myself, because again, I was starting to really enjoy my life.
You finally felt freedom for the first time as a result of...
Yes, I felt freedom, and I could go out on Friday nights, hang out with my friends, you know, do all that stuff. And I was just like, again, the realization more of this is gonna be a really long journey, and it's like, I don't want this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there any feeling like, I don't know, you blamed yourself and or I deserved it in any weird way? Was there some...
Thankfully not, I guess.
Yeah.
I never thought like, oh, I did this, so I deserve it. Like, I thought it was something that happened. And I remember talking to God, and I was like, oh, wow, this is what you're preparing me for. Like, not what I had in store.
You drew that connection back to those feelings.
And again, it was like, I thought someone was gonna die. Like, I was prepared for one of my favorite people to be gone and to be mourning that and for my life to change in that aspect. I wasn't expecting something to happen to me.
Did you wish that you would have died?
No.
Was there ever the feeling that I just wish I wasn't here?
I guess I didn't realize that, like, obviously I realized the severity of my accident, my injury, but I didn't realize that it could have been fatal.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't even cross my mind until a lot later. And no, I didn't want to die. Like, again, a lot of my life before I wanted to die, but when I had been laying in an ICU bed, going through all this pain and everything for weeks, I'm like, I want to get out of here and freaking live. Like, I don't want to die. I want to get out of here and go, you know?
Was there ever a moment that you felt clear on, I don't know. Well, let me rewind. Why do you believe God allowed you to go through this?
That's a really big question. I think that's a question that, you know, people comment on social media and things. You're like, well, if your God is real, then why would he allow you to be in this situation? Why would he allow you to go through something so traumatic? Yeah. Like, God is good. God would not do that. And yes, God is good. And I know now I can confidently say, like, through my brokenness and through the pain that I've gone through, it has brought me closer to him, and it's brought a lot of people, thankfully, to him, closer to him. And I know it's painful and it sucks, but there's so much power now that I've realized in vulnerability and in brokenness. Mine is obviously very physical, but I struggle mentally a lot too. And I don't know, I don't understand it, and I don't think there is any understanding. You know, I can ask God and continue to ask God, but I don't think I'll know until hopefully I get to heaven. But
was there anything that you said to your mom?
I try not to focus on it.
Yeah, like was there anything that sort of for you in those early days? Because from what I've heard from your family, you were sort of the one keeping it all together.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
100%.
And I think that so much of your character and all of what you've mentioned that you've been through and all the ways that you approached, you know, sport and developing greatness, those were the things that you use and utilize to get through and to stay calm and all that. I mean, that's remarkable to think about. You break your neck and, you know, you're making jokes and the ambulance, like that's just not typical for any human, much less this, you know, young gal who's got all of her life in front of her. Was there this feeling like, was there any moment that during that acute hospital stay in ICU that you felt God sort of gave you clarity or gave you any nuggets of like, hey, look, like this is, I've had you the whole time. I mean, even in retrospect, thinking about camp and the spiritual walk, the path that you were on, the depth of that relationship with God, was there anything that he sort of was like, you know, I've got you?
Yeah. So I was doing good on my recovery, and then I got pneumonia, and my lungs collapsed. And that set me back, obviously. Started to get better, and then they collapsed again. And I had to get a trach. And I learned this, like, obviously a lot later, that they had to have, like, some really serious conversations with my parents about, okay, like, if this continues to happen, what are we gonna do? You know, I might have to be on a ventilator for the rest of my life and all these things, which thankfully they protected me from and didn't tell me that because I was going through enough. But I had everything taken away from me, you know. I have been laying in this bed for weeks and I'm paralyzed and I can't move my arms like they're noodles. I'm laying here like still, you know. But now my voice is taken away and I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink water. I couldn't talk about you think you can't do anything and then it's like just continue to get so much worse, you know.
There's levels below this, like.
I'm breathing through my throat. I'm not even breathing on my own. A machine is breathing for me. I'm getting my nutrients, my food through my stomach. I have IVs everywhere. It's just like, I couldn't talk, so I had a lot of time with God, you know, and just talked to him a bunch. And I don't remember like a lot of the things. Obviously, I had so much going on, but again, it's like, God, like you just have to believe you are doing this for a reason. Like, again, I was like, I don't think I did anything to deserve this. Like, there has to be a reason. Like, I believe there has to be a reason for this, you know, and just stuck to that and just.
Was your family,
me.
was your family also like just trusting their faith and or leaning into like, you know, God's got this?
Yeah, I think so, or at least I want to believe.
Yeah.
You know, again, everybody was strong around me whenever they were visiting. Could only have one visitor in my room, you know, and all this stuff. And when my friends would visit me, you know, again, for a couple of weeks I couldn't talk, so they're talking to me. Well, I can't write.
Oh,
my hands don't work.
Yeah.
And this is like ironic, and I think it's funny, but people think it's inappropriate, but whatever. But I had taken sign language for years. You know, I was really good at it. And like in college, I was looking at maybe like doing it so I could like be an interpreter for people. And again, I was like, okay, I lost my voice. I was like, oh, sign language, like I got this. This is perfect. God, I chose sign language over taking Spanish or French because of this moment. And then I was like,
My
fingers don't work. My hands don't work. And I think that was like the first part of like, God, if I just had my hands, like, again, if I just had my hands, I'd be okay. Was that the truth? No. But it was just one of those things that I was like.
What beautiful honesty. I mean, how often do we all say, if I just fill in the blank? You know, and the truth is our perspective is the thing that shapes our ability to hopefully align with why we're here and what we're here for. So the Makayla Noble story took this massive pivot.
Yeah.
And
Makayla Noble, the accelerator, the cheerleader, the early graduate, you know, the spunky, bubbly girl that she is, now is in this traumatic accident, and a lot of people know about it.
Oh, it was big story.
Yeah.
I mean, big story. There was this world champion cheerleader, this beautiful young lady, all of life ahead of her, and now it's on every major news network. You know, the following that you already had, right, suddenly now became exponentially greater. And, you know, you're not just going through ICU, but acute rehab, lungs are collapsing. Like, this is this thing where it's not this, you know, people start to portray this very optimistic kind of outcome and story, but the reality is the work hasn't even really started.
No, not at all.
And you eventually get transported down to Houston for a different therapeutic care program. Talk about that trip.
Terrible. Well, first, going back to the ICU.
Yeah.
Again, I was the one, pull your phone out, I want to take a picture, like take a video. I want to keep people updated. Again, I'm going to want to look back on these experiences, as much pain as I am in. Again, I think that was kind of God, because my journey has touched a lot of people, you know.
More than you could ever understand.
But I just documented everything, highs, lows, mental health, physical health. I put it out there because I'm like, I'm going through this, like.
This is real.
This is real. This is my life.
Yeah.
This is my life. And again, that's continued to set in, this is my life. Like, this isn't just like a story, like, holy crap, this is happening to me.
Do you still have those thoughts 2 years?
Oh, yeah, I have them all the time. Sometimes they're good. I'm like, this is my life. Like, I just met Dak Prescott. Like, all this stuff. Like, this is like my life. Like, this is so cool.
Dak just came to your house.
Yeah, like, this is so cool. Like, I'm doing this huge opportunity, all this stuff. And then there's low moments where I'm like, this is my life. Like,
Well, I commend you and admire you so much for the ability to show both and, right? And that I think is, again, if I can just compliment you on the shift from where you used to struggle with body image, like the ability to show all of it today and to be okay with, you know, like presenting the world with this, you know, this part of you that does struggle that's where social media benefits us all. And I know that the impact on young girls, not just in cheerleading, but around body image, you know, and those that are struggling with depression, suicidal thoughts, you know, you are I think the most motivating thing about Makayla Noble is the way that you move through. You have used that word multiple times, and it's one thing to come right up to it, right? And people balk against that step over. I know I have in my personal life. Mm-hmm. You know, we look for an easier, softer way, and you are someone who just says like, no, I'm here, and the purpose is to move toward and move through this so that I can discover what's on the other side. And that's just, for someone who's lived, you know, a short while on this earth.
Couple of years.
It's profound to me, the wisdom that you represent. It's this broader understanding that like, no matter what life presents you, there's a part that is kind of God qualifying you for the call. And that's
so cool.
That's like, being around you and being in watching people who are attracted to you. I love when I travel, we've traveled together and people stop you. Oh my God, you're Makayla Noble. I've had so many young females when I'm not with you come up and say, hey, are you friends with Makayla Noble? And I'm like, oh, Makayla's like my daughter. I love Makayla. Like, she's like TikTok famous. Mm-hmm. Like, she is a big deal. And I'm like, I know she's a big deal. And people get caught up in your wake. Where do you find an opportunity to use your story? I don't think leverage is the right way of saying it, but presenting it in authenticity and people then discovering that they're really connected to you, even though they have never broke their neck.
Yeah. I think I've found through my social media and the following and the comments, honestly, hearing people open up, is that we're all human, you know, and there's so much power in vulnerability. I used to hate showing,
of course,
my sensitive side. You know, I struggled so much, but I am only going to be crying when I am in my house, in my room. Like, you do not get to ever see my weakness. Like, you will not. I thought, you know, showing your weakness was like, you're weak, you know, you're being so weak, you're being so dramatic, all that stuff. And through my accident, through my injury, and by sharing my mental struggles, as long as my physical struggles, people are attached because we're all human. Yeah. And I say this to people at the grocery store, wherever, and I don't mean to like repeat it, but it's like, it's truly how I feel. I'm like, we're all going through hard times and we're all struggling with things. And it's like a lot of mine are just a lot more physical than yours, you know? Because people are like, you're so positive and like, you're so sweet. And I'm like, thank you. But like, I am positive, like for the most part, but like, that's truly me. Mm-hmm. That truly is how I live. And they're like some people believe, again, like it's a persona. Like, I'm just like, putting on this fake happy smile, all this stuff. And I'm like, no, like, and they're like, well, you have to have your bad days. And that's like, they're like, aha. I'm like, of course I do. I'm like, do you have bad days? Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, I have bad days. And I'm like, same. Yeah. I had bad days before. I had really bad days before. Yeah. I was like, but my bad days before were just about different things. And I was like, guess what? Those things, like the schoolwork and the cheer, it was my world. I thought it was everything, you know? And those things felt detrimental. But like now my struggles and my bad days, they suck just as much as they used to. It's just over different things.
Yeah, perspective.
Yeah. Perspective is everything. And I like that social media gives you that perspective. And again, just by hearing people's stories, even similar stories as me, or not, it makes me grateful. And again, I think by having such a strong relationship with God, I talk to him, and I don't try and understand everything because he didn't make me smart enough to understand everything, you know? We have to rely on him. So I find I have so much peace through him that I don't have to understand everything.
3 weeks-ish of acute ICU.
Yes.
Then another month of kind of continuation of rehab and recovery.
Yeah, in Houston.
So you get back here to Dallas, Fort Worth, Prosper, right? Mm-hmm. And what does your life look like? Like, is there any sort of consistency or structure? Like, what does a day-to-day look like out of the hospital?
So a lot of things that would tear apart a person happened to me in the span of a week, which is crazy. So my accident happened on Monday, and then my parents' divorce was finalized, I think that Friday or something. It had been leading up for a long time, and it had been pretty ugly. Like, I had asked them, like, multiple times, like, I want y'all to get a divorce. So it was, like, not something that was a surprise or, like, personally, like, painful to me. I was more like, okay, like, this happen, like, it's gonna be a relief, like, once after, like, kind of all this happens. So I guess I'm thankful for that it wasn't, like, another bomb. But
Still
again, it was, I mean, a divorce can completely change a child, you know? And then, again, my accident happened before that. So it was just, like, a lot of madness and things happening. I think everybody did a good job of kind of wanting to protect me, you know, just my whole life has been flipped upside down. So coming back, I didn't come back. I was already living in an apartment with my mom and sister when my accident happened, like when the school year started. So we came back to our apartment. Of course, it wasn't handicap accessible. And I was in a power chair. And we had a food train going. I mean, the community and just so many people were flooding us with love and support, you know, anything and everything.
The Prosper town made Makayla's day, right? They lit up the
Got a town holiday.
They lit up the stadium in purple, because that's your favorite color.
Purple is my color.
And I mean, obviously there's a lot of attention.
A lot of attention. There's social media, on the news, people, like Inside Edition, like all these crazy things.
Yeah.
Like,
was that a good distraction? Was it?
It was.
Okay.
I think it was, honestly. Like, waking up in the hospital, I had like 25,000 before, which is still insane. From the cheerleading world and everything. I'm talking about like Instagram. Woke up a couple days later and it was, Makayla, you have 60K followers on Instagram. And I was like, shut up. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is so cool. Getting more, hundreds of thousands, which is just insane. And again, it's just on social media. Like, it's
sure, but it's
it's still cool. And it was a big distraction. So we were doing updates every single day. We had like a fight page, which again was originally just for friends and family because we didn't want to text everybody individually. Go on there and see what's happening. The community had it, surrounding communities, you know, word spread pretty quickly. But the Prosper community was just, I mean,
next level.
Yeah. Thankfully, we live in a very nice area. Everyone's very blessed and willing and able to help, which, again, is such a blessing. And I'm so thankful for that. But it was like the best situation and scenario. There was an overwhelming amount of help and love coming in.
Bring the audience into, you know, coming through the ATF, the Adaptive Training Foundation doors, which again, just for the audience listening, you know, my identity crisis leaving football was what led me to coping with just numbing myself. And it was opiates, it was Xanax, it was anything I could get my hands on. And really, as I got clean and I got rehabilitated and got healthy, the gym was always a sanctuary for me, right? Like as an athlete, that ability to go and do hard work to achieve better was always something that made sense. It was like, cool, in this arena, X and Y equals Z. And I loved the community of the gym and being able to push myself. So I don't know, back to that athlete mentality, what was the experience like? You know, we have this nonprofit gym that trains people that have had spinal cord injuries or traumatic amputation, or so many different varieties. And we do it all cost free because, you know, we believe that you adaptive athletes and your stories are an absolute perspective of hope. It is not so much about the hand that you were dealt, but your response to it.
Your response, yeah.
And you're a perfect example of that. So talk about maybe coming through the doors of ATF and what that process and program has done.
Yeah, so being so young and being in the rehab facility that I was in, and actually all of them that I've been to, and all of them across the country, you know, spinal cord injuries and traumatic brain injuries and these amputations, a lot of these things are happening to older people. It's an older demographic, you know. So being in the hospital facilities and everything, I hated it, you know. Working with physical therapists and occupational therapists, amazing. So many people doing like amazing work. But it just sucked because, again, I was so willing and bold, I guess, ready to try any and everything, and not really fearful. It was difficult because there were so many restrictions on things that, well, our insurance doesn't cover this, so we can't technically do this, you know?
Right.
And a lot of going through the motions and treating me so fragile, and I was so fragile. Like, I was still working out and doing all these things even at home when I was still in a chest brace and a neck brace and wasn't even supposed to be sitting up 90 degrees yet.
I remember your first time painting as part of your occupational therapy.
You remember
And
that?
I didn't know you, and I remember watching it because Sarah, my wife, and I there was allergy season or something.
Oh my God.
But it was cool because, again, you're seeing this girl, and whether it was debunking the doctor's, you know, limits that they put on you, or if it was just like, gosh, she's doing something and the joy on her face and doing it. I think you painted Kevin, your cat. Is that right?
Over there?
Is it over there?
Yeah, it's
okay,
over
we'll
there.
get a shot of that for people that are watching. But yeah, so you come through ATF. What's the difference?
Yeah, the difference is just exponential. I was working out with the trainer before. And
Shout out Tim Cook.
We love Tim.
Tim's the man.
I know. I was working out with him, and he was training athletes who were injured, but like professional athletes that were injured.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I was telling my trainer Fitz that I work out with, that like there's again, the area we live in, there's so many Cowboys players, there's so many everybody that was like working out in this gym, everything. And so like it was funny like seeing them training, and then I'm in my power chair, I'm still in a chest brace, I'm still in a neck brace, like doing the babyest things, but like them showing their like respect, like for still working out and everything. It was just funny, but it was like the first taste of like, hey, like you are taking what I have and like you actually want to work out and like try this. And so then we found out about Adaptive Training Foundation, and him and I went, and I remember I went on the tour, and then you and Sarah came in, like popped in at the end, and y'all like, we're all like fancied up, and it was just so cool that like you were busy doing something during the day, and like you took time out of your day to come and meet me in person. And I thought that was really special, and like everybody in there was just so nice. I read people pretty quickly, like I can tell if I'm gonna like you or not like you pretty quickly. And I like most people, but I was like, ooh, yeah, like I like this place, like I like this gym, I like what they're about. And again, just being in a gym is just so freeing, and it's in who I am as an athlete. Again, even when I was struggling with the body image and everything, I wanted to go to the gym and work out. I wanted to get stronger. It's part of who we are, you know? So that was something back in the hospital and in the rehab facilities and everything that I was like, I want to go home and work out.
Yeah.
So going to ATF and everything, it was interesting. It was interesting both in the sterile setting and then at ATF.
Yeah, because you're joined up with a cohort, a class of other athletes, right? Of different ages, backgrounds, skin colors, socioeconomic status, type of injury.
The most craziest group of people.
We like the misfit toys. Like, come on, everybody, come as you are, but don't expect to stay that way. We're gonna make some change.
Yeah. It was crazy. I was in class with just people who are so different than me that I was like, what in the world am I going to talk to you about? Again, coming in 17, being grouped with people all the way up to 60. Wasn't he 60? Will was 60.
Yeah.
And
Army vet missing an arm.
An arm, was in the military when he was my age from like his whole life. Wasn't he in it like so long, and then got injured and retired, and I was like, what am I going to talk to this guy about? I have nothing in common with him. Like, yeah, he was in a traumatic injury, so was I. That's it, okay? Yeah. And, by the end of the 9 weeks, and when we're in Idaho, we're having so much fun together, talking, sharing stories, and just everybody in between. We have people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. I don't know about 50s, but then 60s. And it was just so cool because, again, I was so used to being around older people. I liked hanging out with adults better. Like, I would prefer hanging out with adults rather than kids my age. I enjoy having mature conversations and hearing stories, and getting wisdom. So I really enjoy the environment. But anybody who's ever been into ATF, like, just raves about it. And you can't not rave about it because you get in there and you might be struggling with something or like having a bad day, and I can guarantee you're gonna walk out those doors or roll out those doors or however you came in, and you are going to leave empowered and I feel like on top of the world, like every time I leave ATF. And I know so many people feel like that, and it's such a unique environment that can't be fake. It's authentic, and it's a lot of people with a lot of hard things coming in there, and you give grace, of course, and are there for each other, and everybody loves each other so much, and like I love you and so many people, and there's so much, even though I haven't known you that long. Yeah.
It forces you to get real in such a way. It forces
you to get so real, but also like I love you, but also I'm going to take you very far outside your comfort zone because I want you to be the strongest and the best version of you that you can be. And it's like you see that potential in people who come through those doors, that it's like, it goes back to the athlete mindset, the athlete work ethic, and like the tough love. It's like, I want the best for you.
Yeah, I remember one specific time. I mean, I remember so many of the things in the gym that was how you trained, and the willingness to try different things, and the progression, the real progress in real time that we got to see. But talk about, the goal bell, and talk about what you put out. So we make our athletes at the gym, our adaptive athletes, we make them commit to different things that if they achieve that, then there's a nautical bell at the end of the gym. And that bell, because it's a 20,000 square foot space, we're not always able to see each other. But when that bell goes off, it means somebody turned a no into a yes. And the whole place goes nuts.
Every time.
So talk about what your goal was, and we'll certainly share it to those watching. But talk about what your goal was and what it took to get it done.
Honestly, David, it wasn't a goal of mine. It was you.
It was mine? I put that on you?
It was your idea. It was 1,000% your idea.
We can agree to disagree on that, but no, I'm just kidding. It very well might have been.
I did not want to do it.
Well, let me say it this way.
But I was like,
you'd been Army crawling. So
I'd been Army crawling.
At this time, like the woman that you see moving right now has even more capabilities, fast forward year and a half. But at the time, it was quite frankly limited hands, and it was
nothing. It
was really just your arms, just the high upper body, traps, shoulders.
Which again is funny because I hated working out my arms. I only
upper
wanted
body.
to do lower body. So God's like,
yep, here we go. That's how we work.
Yep.
So she had been crawling on our turf, which is about 40 yards.
Yeah.
And we would lay yoga mats.
I'd been crawling, trying to get from one end of one mat
Yes.
to the end of the other mat.
Right, which is essentially 6 feet. So this
And that
day,
was like a goal in itself. Well, first off, even being able to move at all, to get up in that position, first off, that was a bell ringer just to get up in that position.
right? Yep. And
Because
then
again-
the elbows took a lot of dermis, a lot of skin that was
Oh
left
my
on the turf.
gosh.
We had to learn how to kind of like pad you up,
Yeah, I mean, I was bleeding over all the mats and everything. But
which
again,
was kind of cool. It was like, I know your mom was probably not loving
no,
that.
my mom does not care. She's like, yeah, you
Oh,
can bleed.
Yeah, well, we loved it because we're like, dude, look at this. The cheerleader over there is so gritty.
Yeah.
And then it was, I guess, yeah, okay, it was my challenge. I'll let you have that. And my challenge was to go from one end to the other end, one mat at a time.
The whole gym.
whole
When
gym.
I had been practicing going one mat and then I got 2, I think I did 3.
And we said, she's ready for
And
the whole
David's
day.
like, let's do the whole gym.
I do. I remember distinctly, our gym is a lot kind of the hard knocks thing where us as a staff, every day we comb through the roster who are active athletes and we think about ways to shake their tree. Sometimes it's mentally, sometimes it's physically, like, because we believe in again, creating growth producing fear encounters or stimulation and stress, because that person under stress is going to show up. That's a little metaphor for everything that they're going to face outside of our walls.
Yeah.
And I remember laying out mats and you being you, never back down from a challenge.
No.
Did you try to back out of this one?
No.
Okay, good. Because I was gonna say I don't remember
you're
any
like-
resistance.
Because I was like, again, it's the like, oh, you don't think I can do it?
I think that was part of it, yeah, or maybe all of it.
Or you said it, and then I was like, I'm not gonna be a pussy. Like, I'm not gonna be like, no, I can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, you're allowed to say
Okay.
whatever you want.
I was just gonna be like, well, it's the truth.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna be like, oh, he's right. Like, maybe I can't do that. It's like,
Yeah. So
Here
we
we go.
started,
and again, like,
once you start, you're gonna finish it.
yes.
So it took.
I'm not about to let all these, like, there's like 50 people in the gym. I'm not allowed about all these people seeing me fail.
Yeah.
No. Makayla, you just, and again, it's not like you just gotta crawl to the end, but it's like, you have done so many hard things. Like, I swear, Makayla, if you quit, I'm gonna kill you.
Here's
Like,
what was crazy though.
not you saying that, me.
No,
it was,
yeah.
it was all on me.
But
it was all on me.
it wasn't like we stopped everyone in the gym for
No.
this moment. Like everyone was doing what they were doing. It just came time that it was like, why not? Let's see if she can throw down. And it did. It took, I mean, the greater part of 20 minutes. And that's what's so crazy to me is, listen, people commit, oh, I'm gonna go climb Everest when they're in a warm blanket at home watching a movie, you know, and it all sounds good. Like once you get going and you're maybe a couple mats in and there's 5 minutes on the clock, like everyone's well aware that if she's gonna make it all the way to that end into that bell, like
take a while.
it's gonna take a bit. And elbows bleeding and you know, it was like for me, again, your head down, even the ability to hold your head up was hard at this time.
Yeah.
And so I think you weren't as aware of what was happening around.
No, I couldn't care less what was happening around me.
And what was happening was every one of the people, athletes, trainers, staff, everybody was starting to make their way to the turf to witness the most gritty thing. I've played with some absolutely tough dudes in football. The ability for you to stay the course and to persevere through and just dig in was the grittiest thing I've ever seen in a sport or training arena. It'd be like me, right, only using my elbows, tying a 100-pound tire behind me on a rope and crawling across, you know, a 100-yard field. That's how I allot it.
But you have your biceps and triceps.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think at some point, like even greater than that, the field's uphill. How about that? We'll make it uphill then. Because it was amazing to watch and witness. And eventually, and we'll play the video, but you get down to those
It's powerful.
final
Yeah.
mats. What are you thinking? What is happening? What are you feeling?
Well, again, human nature. I want to quit. This sucks. I'm in pain. I'm bleeding 10 mats behind me. Ow, my arms hurt. Okay. But it's like, I've come this far. I can't give up now. Again, the only way to finish is through. And this is a challenge. I got to get through it. And it's like, again, in my brain, I'm not going to lie, it sucked. I'm like, oh my gosh, this hurts. Like, this is terrible. Why am I doing this to myself? You know? And towards the end, we'd been going for over 20 minutes and I was just in so much pain. I was fatigued mentally as well as physically, obviously. And I was getting so close and I was moving so slow. Yeah. Like, like sometimes I couldn't even like pick the arm up to move it forward to then just grab my body. I remember saying a lot of things. Again, my mantra, God's not done. My whole thing is God's not done with me. God's not done with me yet, you know? And I repeated that a lot because I'm like, Makayla, God woke you up this morning. Like, He gave you these muscles that you're using to use them.
Yeah. One of the things that we do is each of the athletes, we challenge them to create a power phrase or a mantra. And I think that's probably something positive, I don't know, for a lot of people listening. If you don't have something that is like the phrase you can say to remind yourself that you got this, like that maybe you adopt something, right? Maybe you find something, maybe God's not done resonates with someone listening, like use it. You're probably willing to lend it out.
Yeah.
So you're saying this to yourself and eventually you're getting close to the rope, which is attached to the bell.
Yeah.
And
so close, as in if somebody able-bodied could reach out and grab it, the amount of time, that was so painful. I know that had to be so painful for you. The amount of times that I just finally got to the end, it's been like 22 minutes to even go up. I can't grab this thing. I am exhausted to even reach my arm up. I mean, it's painful to watch in the video, but
I love it because the way we work is...
But you're right there, Makayla.
Yeah, and we don't, it's not like, oh, we're gonna rescue, or if somebody falls, it's like, get up. You know, like that's just, and it goes back to, I think, what your mom and the tough love, and you did, you fought for it, reach for it, but then eventually, and the whole place just, I mean,
roared.
Everyone, the roared is the perfect word. Everyone went side, made a tunnel basically, and just blew up, man. Like the biggest Elysium ecstasy, like use whatever word you want. And I'll never forget the look that you give me. You can see it in the video. But it was just like that little, like, I did good. Like, just this, like...
Tears running down my face.
Oh, special. What a special moment. And that, to me, was, I already loved you, but that just cemented this, holy crap. This is why I started this gym. This is what all of this was for, these opportunities for people to break through when... Again, like an able-bodied person, you would have been like, dude, this is what
my
this
life's
isn't.
over.
Yeah, like it's just amazing. And you graduate the 9-week program, the Idaho trip that we got to take. So after we train these adaptive athletes for 9 weeks, we take them on a redeploy trip, adaptive, mountain biking, rafting, archery, fly fishing. We also do ski programs, surf programs, different things. But we got to go to Sun Valley, Idaho.
Beautiful.
And watching you, again, mountain biking was so cool. Mm-hmm. You were like a runaway train. There were a couple of times that almost took me out, but it was awesome to watch, again, you just redefine experiences in new ways. And that to me was like, man, this girl what's ahead of her is going to well supersede what she's accomplished from her young cheer career and otherwise.
Thank you.
It was just clear.
I think it was cool because after my injury now, as bad as this sounds, I'm like, okay, well, I'm already hurt a bunch. Like, I'm not fearful of pain.
Yeah.
Still hurts, but I'm going to live my life now and just not be crazy and reckless, but I'm going to be adventurous. And if I want to try something, I'm going to try it and do it. And again, not like bad, but just like, again, before I would have been fearful of mountain biking. And I was one of the only people who didn't flip my mountain bike, didn't hurt myself. Like, again, I was just like, come on, let's try it. Why not?
Yeah.
And so then we got to what? I think it was like the 4th day or something. And we were on a boat. Mm-hmm. And we got to this place and it was literally looked like heaven. It was beautiful.
Yeah, Redfish Lake up there in the Sawtooth Mountains, picturesque as picturesque could be.
Yeah, and there was a big cliff and some people started climbing up the cliff and jumping off of it. And I was like, I'm doing it. I want to do it.
Yeah.
Makayla before wouldn't have, but because again, I've heard stories of people getting paralyzed jumping off cliffs, and I was like, that would suck. I'm already paralyzed. I'm already paralyzed pretty high. Like I only have like 5 more levels I could go.
You're terrible.
So let's just do it.
What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen?
The wild part is, I carry you up there.
Y'all carry me up these mountains, and again, it's not like there's steps to. Again, there's not a.
Yeah.
Nah.
No, this is not ADA. This is not. No one came along and put a wheelchair
This is
around.
God's creation. This is literally just mountains.
This is what I love about our gym is whether it's like, oh, there's stairs, cool, here, hop on my back. Like, we're gonna carry you up. Like, I think about like in the Bible where like they lowered a man from the roof so he could be in front of Jesus. Like that would have been our ATF crew. Like, hey, we got this. Just like a little bit more rope. But we get up there, and I was explaining to you what was going to go down, and I said, have you ever jumped off of something before? And do you remember what you said?
No.
Your answer was, my mom wouldn't let me so I wouldn't get hurt for cheerleading. And I just remember the irony of like, okay, well, to your point, like we've broken one bone, or and it happens to be your spinal
Let's
cord.
make it 2. No, I'm kidding.
Let's do this. And I mean, again, I know that people online will say different things and different things. Like at the end of the day, your mom was with us. We all collectively made this decision. Shout out to Jen for being an absolute send it type of mom. She's
like, Makayla, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
You gotta do it.
So talk about doing it.
It was scary. There were, just to get up to the 30-foot cliff, 30 freaking feet. We had a plan.
And we have video of this too.
We have video. It's again
proof.
pretty moving, I think. There were 4 people in the water, and you and Colin had me, were holding me, and there was only one way down. In the water.
Gravity helps. Splash.
Held on to the boys. I'm like, okay.
There was a moment though, and God bless your mom, because we had the watermen there with life jackets and stuff ready.
Yeah.
Colin and I jump, and the plan was as soon as we hit the water, we're gonna shove you, like we can go down, we're gonna shove you to the top. But because we shoved your like legs and butt, you essentially went butt up, and you were head down in the water.
So I was still underwater, like completely underwater.
What were you like in
Just
that?
like bobbing.
This is the first time in water since becoming much less jumping off of a cliff to do it.
Yeah.
Was
David
there
and
panic?
Colin were still underwater. I hit the water surface and I was like, okay.
Yep.
And then it was a little like panic again, just because it was like an impact. Hit the water and I was like up at the surface. I was like,
My face is still in water.
I can't flip over. I am helpless right now. I wasn't like scared, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die.
Close.
There was, at this point, 6 people like right around me, swarming to me. I knew they were coming, but it was just like in that moment, I was like, wow, like I am in the hands of all these people around me. Like I cannot help myself at all. And they flipped me over, and again, like, it wasn't like minutes or anything. It was so quick. It was so quick. But in that moment, it was just like the realization of it. It was like, whoa.
My favorite is we flip you, you roll back, and you put a hand up.
You what?
Yeah, you put a fist up in the air. And it was like the best locked out, like, yes, and everybody's screaming. Yeah. It was just cool, man.
It was so cool. And again, it was like one of those things. It's like, I'm alive. Like, I am alive. I am breathing. I'm in Idaho. I'm in this National Geographic picture right now. Like, I need to go up there. Can I jump off physically? No.
Yep.
I'll have people do it for me. Like,
Just
but we're
adapt.
gonna do it and live. And it was an amazing moment. And it was one of my favorite moments with you, obviously, but I think it just shows like the trust that all of us in the gym really have and like the bond.
Yeah.
And I really like when I tell people about the gym and like y'all and the experiences and everything, it's y'all never make us feel like a burden, you know? And I know that's like sad, but as someone who is very disabled, like everything can make you feel like a burden. And it's like, we were literally on a cliff and y'all are like, okay, yeah, just like hop on my back, like I'll carry you up and then like we'll jump off. And it's not like, oh, okay, like I'll carry you, I guess. Or like, we'll figure this out. Like, there's never an eye roll or anything. It's like, y'all are excited to jump at the opportunity to adapt and do things. And it's so cool because thankfully, like, I have amazing caregivers and family and friends who support and never make me feel like a burden. Yeah. But I know there are so many people out there who aren't lucky and have no support and just feel like such a big burden.
I think it's a two-way street too. Meaning, like, your mom, who is your caregiver, right? Like, oftentimes the person who is, you know, very dependent lashes out, right? Is just negative. Like, the closest people to you are usually the ones that take the brunt of it. Mm-hmm. But I think you and your mom already had a super special relationship.
We did, thankfully.
More sisters than anything. And then now, even then, like, I mean, you're super grateful. I mean, the gratitude and the thanks to your moms. I'm sure you guys have difficult days and get on each other or otherwise. But I was so, it's cool. I'll give a comparison. The comparison is, you know, we do this trip in Idaho and your mom being back on a bike was really big for her. Now you guys are riding together and, you know, you took swim lessons this summer.
I did.
Which you came to the house, swam in my pool. And
I was so excited to show David. I was like,
and I'm holding her and she's like, okay, let me go. I'm like,
did you feel like you're like, this is my baby?
It was scarier for me than jumping off the cliff with you, because at some level I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, and I let go, and of course you go into cheer mode, like flipping and showing off and doing these things, not just like, hey, look, I can float and I can breathe because I can get on the surface. Just like a baby that has learned to roll over.
Literally back in
swim school
like a baby.
Unbelievable. And how was it, or how is it for you in the pool? Like, what is that state? Is it freedom? I'd have to imagine it's like.
Yeah. So it's amazing. I don't even know the right word for it, but water has always been like my favorite thing. And then got baptized in the ocean, like the ocean, lakes, pools, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like that is my place. I feel just so peaceful and so like close to God and just like nature and everything. But to get back in a pool and first off, learn how to flip over by myself again, because that experience, again, it wasn't like super scary. It was just one of those moments where you're like, I'd never thought about that before.
Yeah, I go to what if, like, hey, if I can be ready, if God forbid some circumstance, right, and I can take care of myself, that's one less thing I have to be dependent for.
Yeah, so obviously that was like the first thing I learned, is how to flip over. That made me feel really good. And then the swim coach was kind of learning as I was learning, you know. Talked to you a bunch and a bunch of other people, and just kind of, again, it's just like, let me go, let me try. Yeah. I'm gonna figure it out somehow. I, again, only have movement from chest up, but the body adapts and figures it out, and I'm able to swim and do little flips in the pool and do workouts in the pool. It feels amazing. It feels
like you hadn't done that since cheerleading.
I hadn't done that since
since the accident.
And again, I had this realization in the pool, and it makes me so grateful. It's like I haven't been not attached to something or touching something and moving independently for a year and a half.
We'll drop in some videos too, because it's awesome to watch your body's control and even your legs.
Weird.
Like cool weird. Like this is all the more hope for, again, it looks like you're like frog legs and you're starting to kick, but it's in perfect timing with your upper body when you do it. And you're not physically doing it.
I have no movement.
The body,
through my legs.
It remembers.
It's really cool. And
crazy.
Just being in the water, not touching anything, and being able to move where I want to go. I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm not in a power chair. I'm not in a stretcher. I'm not in a bed. Nobody and nothing is touching me, and I'm moving. And it is just like the best feeling. Like I could be having a terrible day. I go to the pool.
Game changer.
Game changer.
That's so
Game
cool.
changer. It feels like, obviously, I'm not flying, but in a sense, it feels like I'm flying, because it's like Just feels good. And just being underwater, feeling the water, seeing the water, it's just, it's my jam.
Well, I'd say this with total certainty, Makayla Noble, that you are a game changer.
Thank you.
And it's been, I'm gonna look at the notes here. I could name 100 things that you've accomplished, not just in the first year, but beyond. You just recently got back from Alaska on an amazing family vacation. You've been recent a model and actress. Dick's commercial that just dropped.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah.
More of that in your future? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking
Hopefully.
on stages, sharing your story.
Yeah.
Guys,
Loving that.
anyone listening, hire this girl to come and speak to your family, your group, your organization, your corporation. Like, she will wow you. Again, I will gladly be her hype man and give her the introduction. We've shared stages, hope to do more of that.
Yeah.
But, like for you, what's ahead? I want you to talk about a video that you sent me that you recorded before you got hurt, and then what that means for what's ahead. Because it's crazy. This is another one of those like ominous sort of like.
Yeah. Whoa, things. I took this video January of 2021, so just a few months before my accident. Just set my phone up in the car. Again, you can see it's just very me, very my personality. I talk with my hands a lot, and my fingers and hands are moving. Like, obviously you can see the videos from before. But I'm like, hey, like it has been one of my lifelong goals, and it really has been, to write a book. Like, I want to be an author. I want to write something again. I love words, and that's why I love talking so much, but I love words and I love stories. I want to write a book that leaves people changed and felt something and hopefully learned something. Again, this is before my injury. This is before I had any idea what's to come. But I was just like, I want to make this world a better place. I want to share a story of some sort, not even knowing what.
Yeah.
9 months later, 8 months later, I would break my neck and be paralyzed from my chest down at 16.
What a great encouragement.
Thanks.
This is only a chapter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're only partway through the movie.
I'm only 2 years out from this. I'm still a teenager. Oh, gosh.
That's crazy.
I got some years ahead of me, so.
Well, you do. And I think, whether it's Beth Hamilton or others that, are extraordinary stories, right?
Yeah.
From remarkable humans that had taken the hand that was dealt and decided to play it, spin it, live it in a way that still ushers in the best version of themselves, right? Still allows for the development, even though it looks different. The first adaptive athlete that I ever met was Staff Sergeant Travis Mills, quadruple amputee. And I walked up to the dude and was just like, hey man, when was the last time you worked out? You want to work out with me? And he didn't have arms and legs. And he said that straight up, like, dude, I don't want to make you feel like an asshole. I don't have arms and legs. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to look the way that it looked before, but you're living, man. You're doing it. And you're doing it in a way that I know is moving to people, because it is to me. And I think I just can't say enough good things. You are an overcomer. You're the type of person that, I want my kids to grow up admiring and seeking motivation and inspiration from. So thank you for being you.
Thank you.
And just reflecting the light. I think there's a Rumi quote. It says, the wound is where the light enters. Ooh. And I think that you are a perfect example of one whose light wasn't dimmed by this, but just magnified, just that much more. And you're right, your story now has legs in a different way.
Yeah.
It does.
Ooh, I like that. Thank you, David.
Any last thoughts to share? We could go for 2 more hours.
I was gonna say,
I got a feeling this may be another one that we follow up and
keep going forever.
do a part 2, bring your mom on.
Yeah. My mom has a whole story in herself. Mm-hmm. So, no, I think those 2 points I made were kind of my final points I wanted to say.
Well, I love you. I'm grateful for you.
Thank you.
Dak Prescott came today too. Love you, Mac.
I love you. Thank you.